At Qiting University, a group of guys stand in front of a woman named Fang Quanshui. One of them asks her to hurry up and answer. Another asks her what a young pretty lady like her has to worry about. Yet another guy says that she's fantastic. Wufan tells her that he knows that she's confused, but she already stepped into the heart that he made out of 999 roses, which is so romantic. Fang looks around in confusion and asks them to wait for a moment. Wufan then pulls out a box with a ring and says that it's a crystal that he retrieved with his great efforts from the dungeons. He also mentions that it's worth 200,000. He had kept it so he could make it into a ring and give it to her. She cannot believe he went to the dungeons, as it is a place that mortals cannot go to. He then boasts by saying that no one besides him in the university would dare to retrieve anything from the dungeons. At that moment, Yin Yongtian shows up to the scene. He walks by the girl to where the roses have been arranged on the floor. He adjusts a few flowers while saying that the curve isn't symmetrical and the flower should be facing the other way. The group of guys wonder who this kid is and what he's doing. However, Wufan doesn't notice this and keeps saying that Fang should understand his sincerity. By now, Tian is done with rearrangement and stands up, just as Wufan holds the ring in front of him and asks Fang to accept his love. Everyone's confused as to what Wufan is doing by proposing to Tian. Tian then asks the guy if the ring is for him. Startled, Wufan drops the ring box and asks Tian who the hell he is. So, Tian starts to tell him his name, but he is cut off by Wufan saying that he doesn't want his name as he's in the middle of something. He then looks behind Tian to see that Fan has disappeared. Wufan yells at his friends for not keeping an eye on her and letting her get away. They try to explain to him that Tian blocked their vision, so they couldn't see Fang. Tian then says to Wufan that he just got the flowers arranged perfectly and now he ruined them again by dropping the box on it. He also adds that it's such a mess, which is why the confession was not successful. Yongtian bends down to arrange them once again but is met with a punch from Wufan. He continues to punch him until he's on the ground. He says to Tian that he must have wanted to die if he came here and ruined his confession like that. Tian tries to explain that he just wanted to help, but he gets kicked in the face this time. The other guys yell at Wufan to beat Tian up. A while later, Tian lies on the floor beaten and battered and bruised. Wufan warns him that he would beat him to death if he ever saw him again. One guy says that's too much of a threat and the other says that Tian isn't moving, so maybe he actually did kill him. Wufan says that he doesn't care because the world has already changed and the law means nothing to him. Tian thinks that he's about to die. He can't even move his fingers and he feels so cold. But soon, all of a sudden, he does not feel any pain at all. He sees some bright lights and wonders if it is a hallucination. Suddenly, a window opens up and mentions that the system is loading and detecting vital signs. It also says that the results of the biological investigation show that this is a native species of Earth with no capabilities. Soon, the host is confirmed and Tian is asked if he would like to be healed with the options yes and no below it. Meanwhile, Fang has gathered two men to help her. She tells them all about what happened. She also mentions the fight and how Tian got beat up, so she asks them to hurry up. When they reach the place, there seems to be no one there. The guy asks her if she's sure this is the place as there's no one here. Fang tells him this is the place as the flowers and candles are still here. So the guard says that they probably left and also there's no bloodstains, so nothing much could have happened. He then tells Fang that they should go back now and that if anything actually happened they would hear about it tomorrow, while addressing her as ma'am. She says okay and tells them not to call her ma'am as she's a regular university student now. Tian is now in his bedroom, thinking about the window that he keeps seeing. He can't seem to be able to get rid of it. The system says there's a notification and asks him to check it. Instead, Tian gets under his bed to see if the window still appears, and it does. Even if he hides under the blanket, the window is still visible. Tian is frustrated at this point. He thinks how pop-ups online close, but this one won't. Even when he closes his eyes, he can see it all around him. The system continues to bombard him with the notification message until Tian yells at it, saying that he would look at the message and asks it to stop. The message informs him that he has restored his body and completed system matching. He then takes a look at his status and skills. Once he's done with this, the system lets him know that he can close the interface. Tian closes it with a sigh of relief and sinks into his bed, thinking that it finally disappeared. But now his head hurts. He wonders what this actually is. When he was beaten up, it was so clear that it couldn't have been his imagination. He had seen the window at the time too, so Tian wonders if that's what rescued him. Suddenly, the window opens up again and informs him that there's 3 notifications. In annoyance, he asks the system to open it. Then, without even looking, he closes them. His eyes hurt too and he doesn't even want to take a shower. All he wants to do is sleep. He then sees a small circular window with the number 1 written on it. He assumes it must be his imagination. He thinks that it would go away if he sleeps, so he goes to bed. He sleeps with the window hovering over him and a couple of hours pass. It's 2 a.m. and he opens his eyes to see that it's still there. He screams out in frustration. He doesn't understand why the screen won't close, so he decides to open the message and sees that he has been asked to complete one novice task. He is told by the system that he's currently in a state of low survival and his current level is 0. And his ability to withstand danger is also close to 0. So he is asked to level up immediately. Improving physical fitness would speed up the completion of tasks. Improvement of perception would help speed up leveling, and he would be granted rewards for completing novice tasks. Since he was young, Tian hated these kinds of reminders about incomplete tasks. And because messaging is too annoying, he doesn't have WeChat and also uninstalled QQ. But with this thing, he doesn't know where it came from or how to uninstall it. He then sees no other way out of this and decides to go ahead and complete the task. Weirdly enough, the moment he stands up, Tian can feel a strange power in his fists. All of a sudden, the power, angle, and posture of the punch seem to have formed in his mind in an instant. But Yongtian doesn't care about upgrading even a bit, but he won't let that incomplete message keep showing up in front of his eyes. He vows to never allow it. By the time he is done, drops of sweat fall to the ground. He checks the window to see how he did and it shows that his left uppercut skill is at 10%. It also asks him if he would like to continue. Tian chooses to continue as he hates to leave things half done. If he can't complete a task, he wouldn't start it at all. And if he has already started it, he would follow through with it till the end. The next day at Chunzheng High School, Yi tells Tian that he scored 0 in the English test again. She demands to know why he won't study well in English class. Yongtian says he wants to study math and doesn't have time for English. She argues that he already scored 149 and is at the top of the class in math. Yongtian says it's still not the maximum score, so it doesn't matter if he's at the top of the class. He says he would only be satisfied if he reached the maximum score. She then says that if he continued like this, the English teacher would annoy him. So she offers to help him study English at her house after school. He says there'd be no need of that, as he doesn't want to study any other subjects until he gets a perfect score in one subject. Later, a punching bag is delivered to Tian's house. The delivery guy asks him if he would like it installed as well, as they provide installation service. Tian tells him that he's not used to people entering his home, so he would do it himself. Once the punching bag has been set up, Yongtian trains by punching it. 3 days later, more punching bags have been installed in his room and his knuckles are bruised. But Yongtian feels satisfied as it should have reached 100% now. But when he goes to check the status window, his left uppercut skill is at 300%. Since these requirements have been now completed, he is asked to reach the 10th stage of mastery to move on to the next level. This leaves Yongtian mad that even 300% still isn't enough. Later, Yi knocks on his door and asks if he's alright as he hasn't been to school for the past few days. He opens the door to see an angry Yi. She then asks him why he looks so pale just as he stumbles forward and falls on her. She immediately catches him and he mumbles that he's very hungry. So, Yi takes him to a restaurant. There, she notices that even when he's starving, he is still so organized. When he's done arranging the fries in a row, he starts to eat them one by one, in order. Yi watches this thinking he's still the same. After he finishes the food, he thanks her for taking him out to eat because otherwise he would have starved to death. So he asks her how he can repay her. She says they're close enough to not worry about that. Tian says he hates to owe people, so she thinks about what she could ask him. That's when she hears someone playing on the claw machines nearby. Yi tells him that if he was able to catch something for her, she would consider it repaid. The girl who is playing the claw machine is angry as the toy keeps dropping. She notices Tian walk by and thinks to herself that he has such a powerful aura, so he must be a master. Tian plays the game and manages to grab a toy on his first go, but it soon drops. The girl feels disappointed at this, but Yi asks her to keep watching. 5 minutes later, Tian has arranged the toys in one row. The girl comments that there's no point of arranging it if he can't even get it out. Then, Tian asks Yi which one she likes. She says she likes all of them. So, Tian picks up a doll from the pile and when it drops, it pushes the other toys that he arranged and all the toys come out with it. Both the girls are impressed by his skills. Yi keeps one of the dolls for herself and gives the rest to the other girl, who happily accepts them. Later, as they walk home, Yi tells Tian that she heard that he got beat up by Wufan. So she asks him if that's the reason he hasn't been to school recently. He tells her that it is nothing and asks her not to overthink it. Once they reach her place, he tells her that he would see her in school tomorrow and wishes her a good night, while Yi side-eyes him suspiciously. The next day, Wufan's guys tell him that the kid he beat up didn't actually die, but he hasn't been to school for the past couple of days. Wufan says that it was a smart choice for him to not come to school, and if he saw him here again, he would beat him up. Soon, YY shows up and warns Wufan to not trouble Tian ever again. The guys immediately burst out laughing, saying who does this girl think she is to warn them. Wufan tells her that the consequences of threatening him would be severe. He then says that since she's cute, he would forgive her now, but for that, she would have to go and play with them for a little while. Tian walks into school and his schoolmates around him whisper amongst themselves, saying that he's the guy that pissed Wufan off and got beaten up. Soon, he is given a notification which says that the novice task is now complete. So, as a reward, his perception and physical fitness have been increased by 1%. He also receives beginner gloves with an attack bonus of 5 as reward. At that moment, Wufan walks into the bathroom too. He tells Tian he's been thinking about him but didn't expect to see him here. Out of the corner of his eyes, Tian notices a doll in one of the guy's hands. He asks him where he got that doll from. So, Wufan says that he came here to discuss about the doll with him. That's when Tian realizes that it's YY's doll. Wufan then throws a punch at Tian, who dodges it by moving his head. He keeps dodging all of Wufan's punches and gets ready to fight back. He takes a fighting stance and Wufan gets angry that Tian wants to fight him. So he sends his guys to get him and kill him. But Tian hits Wufan right in the face with complete force, which causes him to fall back. He goes to hit the others too, saying how they could hurt YY. Soon, the other guys also end up on the floor and Tian says that YY better be alright. Wufan starts to say that Tian misunderstood the situation about YY, but he is unable to finish his sentence as he drops back to the floor in exhaustion. YY sits in class, thinking about how she could lose the doll. Another classmate asks her what happened and she replies that she lost a doll which was important. She continues to think where it could have gone as it was in her bag when she came to school. Another student enters the class and says to YY that someone is looking for her. She sees Tian and runs to him happily as he came looking for her. Outside the class, she asks him if he came here for something. He tells YY that he heard that she went to find Wufan, so he was worried about her. He sees that she's alright and says that's good. He then gives her the doll and tells her to not lose it so easily. YY beams with happiness as soon as she sees the doll. Tian tells her that if she loses it again, he wouldn't catch any more for her. She jokingly calls him a meanie. Tian says he would see her later and walks off. Tian has another notification which says that he has leveled up. His next task is to complete intermediate combat training. Tian is exasperated that there's more fighting involved. At the sports center's boxing gym, Tian trains hard. These combo attacks are a lot harder than the beginner move he was taught, but his left uppercut is already at 300% proficiency. If he kept training the right hook, then his combo punches would improve fast. Because he could assume things like this, his perception skill increases and so does his power. Tian notices that his strength has already been regained and his perception skill is increasing as well. And he's become so concerned about his stats lately, so he thinks that his OCD is increasing too. But no matter what that purpose is, he would rather die than not complete his progress. A few girls who are also in the gym notice Tian and talk about how he's been here all day and night for 3 days. One of them says that she likes guys who are so handsome and focused like him. Meanwhile, another guy, Kwaiting's strongest boxing champion, Senshi, who is also training, notices that Tian is getting all the attention and feels jealous. While Tian continues to punch the punching bag, Senshi catches it and says that his combo technique is off. He says he's trying too hard and that he would teach him how to box properly. Tian's beginner right hook is at 70%, so he tells Senshi to not waste his time as he wants to keep training. Senshi gets angry that Tian refused and says that he would give him what he deserves. In the piano room, Fang is playing a tune on the piano. Ben enters the room and tells her that they found something, while calling her his ma'am. She tells him not to call him that. He then tells her that they found the guy that Wufan beat up and that his name is Yin Yongtian. Fang is surprised and asks where he is. Back in the gym room, Senshi asks Tian if he thinks he's not enough to guide him. So, Senshi asks him to duel with him so he could see his true strength. Tian asks him if he wants to fight him and Senshi replies that he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to train him. By now, people have gathered around them to watch the fight. They all wonder who Senshi's opponent is and one girl says that he's the weird guy with OCD. Fang also walks in to see what all the fuss is about. She wonders why Tian is challenging Senshi. She thinks that he might have a death wish. Fang thinks that Tian was like this even when he helped her out before. He was clearly kind and with good intentions, but his personality was too direct and stubborn, so he gets into trouble easily. Senshi notices that Fang is also here, so he decides to put on a show for her. Senshi raises his arm to throw a punch, and when he does so, his punch is blocked by Tian. Senshi is shocked as it feels like he just punched cotton. So now, invulnerability has been activated and Tian's combo attack progress has reached 8%. Tian says that combat training could level him up so fast, so now he would change his attention to Senshi. Senshi wonders what he's even talking about. The girls watch in confusion, thinking that the atmosphere is weird. As far as Fang is aware, Senshi's all-out punch can kill a cow, but this guy took it and even taunted him, so he must have some power. Then, a burly man named Bioji walks into the gym room saying that it sounds lively in here. Everyone is stunned at this sight of him. He then says that he would like to join the fight too. One day earlier, Wufan had gone to Bio and asked him to help him. Bio asks him what he would give him in return. He says he would offer no less than this ring to honor him. If Bio helped him, the ring would be his. Bio notices the ring and asks Wufan how he got the demon crystal, as that's something that's hard even for him to obtain. He asks Wufan if he's trying to fool him or lie to him. Wufan tells him he spent 200,000 in the black market for this and bought it especially for him. He also says that he heard somewhere that it came from the Fang family. Bio lets out loud laughter and says that he is so honest. Tempted by the ring, Bio agrees to Wufan's demands and says he would do it. The girls discuss that they should probably call security now, as these people are from outside school, referring to Bio and his guys. Senshi watches the girls freaking out and thinks that at times like this, he would be the one to protect people. So he asks Bio what his issue is and says they shouldn't involve other people. Bio, however, pays no attention to him and asks where Yin Yongtian is. He tells him that someone paid 200,000 for his life. Tian appears and asks him why he's looking for him. He also asks Bio if he's off-campus staff and why he's showing off here. So, Bio says that he honestly didn't want to come here, but he couldn't resist the demon crystal. Fang immediately recognizes the ring, and Tian understands that Wufan sent these guys as well. Bio asks his guys to surround Tian and not let him escape. Once he's surrounded, Senshi says that this is a school, so he wouldn't allow him to hit the students. He tells him that if he wanted them, he'd have to go through him. And before he can react, Senshi receives a hard kick from Bio, while the other watch in horror, thinking that it could kill him. Senshi is now on his knees, coughing and struggling to breathe, and Bio aims to punch him, but before he can do so, he is stopped by Tian. Tian reminds Bio that he's not here to fight with Senshi, and asks him why there's always people looking for him. He suggests that they should just sit down and talk. Bio laughs and asks if he's scared. He then pulls out a stick and tells Tian to ask the stick if it wants to talk. He tries to attack Tian with the stick, but he immediately moves away skillfully. Bio tries again, and he's unsuccessful yet again. Tian keeps dodging, thinking that this isn't too hard. Bio is frustrated that Tian is pretty quick. He screams out in anger and says that he would make Tian cower. He presses on one end of the stick, making it extend, as everyone watches feeling shocked. The stick has extended into a sharp-edged spear. Fang asks Ben if Bio is a hunter. Ben tells her that he's certainly got fluctuating powers, but his awakening ability shouldn't be perfect. Several years ago, the world suddenly underwent a change and monsters started appearing. Some humans started to awaken superpowers and fought the monsters. They were called hunters. For most people, the ability can only be awakened once, and the level of ability is split into tiers such as S, A, B, C, D, E, and F among them. The S-tier hunter can become supreme rulers of mankind, able to surpass any other ruling classes. The world returned to the era of martial arts. Bio should have been a hunter. A wandering warlock had once told him that if he improves his foundation, he could surpass the boundaries of the hunter. But Bio was too weak and ended up here. But even then, the power of the awakening has given him the peak physique of a mortal and given him the ability to strengthen his weapons. Bio charges at Tian with the twisting dragon spear. Senshi is taken aback as he had heard of Bio's power, but he never expected this. He also thinks that's why he couldn't stand against him, so he wonders how Tian is able to. He then notices the spear getting closer to Tian and yells at him to run. Tian moves away from the path of the spear and hits it on its side, causing it to fall out of Bio's hands. Bio is shocked that he was able to pull this off, and Senshi wonders how he learned his technique. He lands another punch on Bio, and because of this, his intermediate combo attack is complete. After a few more punches to his jaw, Tian's intermediate combo technique reaches 200%. His perception and physical fitness also increase. Another combo attack from Tian sends Bio flying backwards. His intermediate combo technique reaches 300%. Tian then asks if there's anyone else who wants to fight him. Tian sneezes and rubs his nose, thinking he has been cursed. He notices that the bonus of the actual combat is huge. When he hit Bio with his attacks, his stats leveled right up to 300%. But then he received a new task to level up his sidekick. He is used to it, so he thinks that he should be able to complete it fast. Also, he has noticed something important recently. His perception is much higher than normal people. He thinks this is probably the truth behind his OCD. The stronger his OCD, the stronger his perception and the faster he levels up. He also discovered that by using his perception, he could spy on a perfect status novice skill and learn it instantly, like he did with Senchi's punch before. With this perfect status, his mastery could increase exponentially, and there seems to be no upper limit to it, so he can exceed 100% several times. If he kept practicing, he could even exceed 300%. Tian does not know what this system is or what it wants from him, but he believes that if he keeps completing tasks, it would eventually run out of them and he would be free of the pop-ups and free to live. So to get this job done, he would have to prepare his tools. Right now, he would need to use his perception ability to spy on different perfect status abilities he sees in the world. Then, he could complete the tasks faster. Tian keeps himself busy every day by waking up at 5 a.m. and training until 8 a.m. when he takes a shower. He then cleans the house and ticks off items on his to-do list. The list consists of reminders for him such as turning off the water heater, closing the windows, turning off the kettle, etc. Before he leaves from his house to go to school, he completes these tasks. As he heads to the elevator, an old lady advises him to make sure to always lock his door before he leaves for school. Hearing this, Tian is mortified and runs back to see if his door is locked or not. When he reaches school, Tian is exhausted, but he notices Senchi and some guys walk towards him in an intimidating way. Tian gets angry and wonders what Senchi wants, but they all bow to him and wish him a good morning while addressing him as boss. Senchi informs him that the boxing club members all unanimously voted to make him their new leader. He tells him that he hopes that he always leads them in the world of fighting. All the club members cheer and celebrate having a new boss. They call out to Tian in unison and ask him to teach them. Tian asks them to leave him alone and runs away from them. YY spots Tian and says hi to him, but Tian is busy running away from the boxing club. Other students watch this and wonder who Tian is because he has such a huge following. A girl says that he must be the descendant of the 4 families that she has heard about. Tian finds a place to hide and tries to catch his breath. That is when 3 men walk up to him and ask him if he's Yin Yongtian. The one in the middle says that they are the messengers of the Fang family, and in this area of S City, they represent the Awakening Association. They had heard that Tian is a newly awakened hunter, so they invite him to join the Fang family training group, to enter the group of their hunters. In order to retrieve treasures from the dungeons and keep themselves safe, the Fang family's army is made up of hunters. Tian is confused about what a training group is and what hunters do. The man says that he knows Tian would have a lot of questions, so he says that, in this world, the line between ordinary people and hunters is like the line between heaven and earth. Since the change happened several decades ago, ordinary people have been living in a false world created by the government, thinking the world is peaceful and calm, just like Tian before he was awakened. But if he enters the ranks of the hunters, he would know that it's not true. Tian asks him what he would get in return for joining his training group. The man motions to the man beside him, who opens a box to reveal an array of color-coordinated throwing knives. Tian looks at it in admiration. The color is in a perfect gradient according to size and it looks incredible. This feels like OCD heaven to Tian. He grabs the box from the man saying that he does not use throwing knives, so the man asks him to give it back. When Tian does not reply, he asks him if he should take it as a yes. However, Tian says he would think about it and walks away with the box. Suddenly, he feels like he stepped into a strange energy. He is warned by the system that there are energy fluctuations around him, so he should prepare for combat. Feeling surprised, Tian wonders if there is an enemy nearby. He then sees a man standing not too far away. Tian assumes it might have something to do with him. The next moment, a serpent appears before him. Holding a pocket watch, the man says that the test begins now. The creature emerges from the ground, leading to Tian falling back and dropping the box of knives. It is a giant python, which is a D-tier creature. Its ability is Venom Attack. The venom is acidic and highly corrosive. Tian runs away from the giant python until he smacks into a barrier. He is notified that it's a man-made barrier and only a B-tier or stronger skill would allow him to pass through it. Tian now faces the python and he wonders how a creature like this could even exist. He thinks that he must be dreaming or this is just a hallucination. The snake hisses at him and releases a poison that stinks. The poison triggers beginner gloves, invulnerability. Soon, the giant python is within inches of Tian's face. But before it can strike him, Tian escapes. The man who set all this up thinks that Tian appears to be in school, but he is actually in the magic district number 173, which is dozens of miles away. And the giant python in front of him is very much real. If Tian relaxes even for a moment, he would be eaten. He thinks that it would be interesting to see how long Tian would last. As he keeps dodging all of the python's attacks, Tian thinks that he can't go on like this. He would have to fight back. So he runs towards it and smacks the giant python. However, he ends up hurting his own hand instead, as the snake's skin is very tough. His 300% attack did nothing to the snake, and its venom acts as a good shield for itself too, so he runs away because he has no weapons with him, until he spots the throwing knives he had been given earlier. He immediately jumps down to pick one up. He is tired of running, so he decides to try using the knives. He jumps closer to the python and attempts to stab it, but the scales of the snake are no match for the knife. The man watching this thinks how Tian is too soft and not strong enough. He assumes that Tian would be an F-tier hunter at best, or maybe even lower. He is surprised that he was handpicked by the representatives, as he seems mediocre. He says it would not be his responsibility if Tian decides to walk away. Meanwhile, Tian is not able to break the python's defense no matter how close he gets. At first he was terrified, but now he just wants to fight this snake. He thinks of using his perception skill to find the python's weakness, so he tries to attack the snake in the same place he had stabbed it before, and it works. The snake then twists itself and tries to attack Tian. The man immediately shoots up and pushes Tian away and asks him to watch and learn. Within moments, the giant python has been sliced into pieces by the man after he uses his powers. Tian can't help thinking how strong this man is. He then notices the knives scattered on the ground and picks them up. The man appears in front of him and introduces himself as Fang Dun from the Fang family. He says the Fang family is the birthplace of the strong and the nurturing place of the supernova. And as they get stronger, they get more responsibilities and fight creatures like this every day. He asks Tian what he thinks, while thinking that he would definitely reconsider this because of his use of a D-tier snake. Tian notices that Fang Dun has perfect status, so he immediately tells him that he wants to catch them all too and be the best. Tian thinks that if the Fang family is a place of hunters and many strong people gather there, so it should be a good place to see perfect status techniques. And then he should be able to learn from them and level up fast and get rid of the system easily. Fang Dun is stunned upon hearing his reply, as he had expected Tian to back out. YY worriedly goes around the campus looking for Tian. She then spots him and is surprised to see him talking to Fang Dun. Fang Dun tells Tian to not forget about tomorrow and leaves. When Tian sees YY, he asks her what she is doing here. She says she was looking for him and asks if Fang Dun was troubling him. Tian says he's fine, and YY argues that his clothes are dirty. He tells her that he fell and Fang Dun helped him up. She immediately rushes to him to see if he's injured. A few minutes later, after she is done checking, she asks him why his heart is beating so fast. She asks if that means he has internal injuries. Tian says in his mind that it's because she's so close to him. He hates being too close to people. He always preferred to stay a meter away. Just thinking about being near someone else's breath made him crazy. He feels suffocated just thinking about it. But when he looks at YY up close, she does not seem dirty like most people. She looked pure to Tian. She tells him to not be scared and let her know if something is bothering him. He tells her that a girl like her shouldn't spend her time worrying about others and that he could deal with his own problems. She realizes that Tian is in his complaining mode again. Tian then lectures her about how she went up to Wufan, which was very dangerous. He asks her what she would have done if he tried to fight back. He then asks her how she knows about the Fang family, as she had just mentioned it to him. Meanwhile, someone hides behind a wall, listening to their conversation. YY tells Tian that she knows about the Fang family because they are quite famous. The Fang family is one of the top 4 clans. Located in City C, it has become a supplier of dungeon resources for the Ministry of Defense of Country X. It is a force to be beckoned with, controlling 10% of the dungeon resources of Country X. Fang Quanshui is welcomed and greeted by men as she steps out of her car. When she enters the building, she is greeted by more staff, who bow down to her. Fang Dun spots her and thinks that she looks very elegant and like a goddess today. Fang Quanshui asks Fang Dun if he met Tian, and she also wants to know what he said. Fang Dun tells her that his power is mediocre and not worth her attention. He says that if she wanted to meet someone interesting, he would introduce her to some of the newcomers who are pretty good. Fang Quanshui says that is not needed, as she trusts his judgment. She then commands him to not let any of the newcomers be lazy and mentions that they should be trained carefully. Speaking to the newcomers, Fang Dun says that Fang Quanshui will treat them all equally, and that she is interested in each of them, so they must work hard. He then comments that their footsteps are not good enough, and that the way Fang Quanshui walks is much better compared to the newcomers who are so-called hunters. One guy thinks that he does not know what he's talking about and does not want to ask either, and another thinks that Fang Dun does not need to flatter her so much. As she walks away, Fang Dun tells them that Fang Quanshui is the embodiment of wisdom and beauty. At the exact same moment, she slips and almost falls down before a man catches her. She feels embarrassed, but Fang Dun says that she did this on purpose as she is afraid of being too perfect, which would put a distance between her and the newcomers. And this is what was called wisdom. The head of the Fang family, Fang Daxang, waits in his office. Miss Fang runs in happily to see her father and says that he's back from Gyeonggi. He asks her who would look after all this if he didn't come back. She says that she still has to study or she won't have any specialty. Daxang asks her why she wants to go to an ordinary school when she's so well off. He even has everything organized for her. She tells him that she is just an ordinary girl and not a hunter. Fang Daxang tells her to relax and that the family business will soon be all her responsibility. He says that managers like them do not need to worry about their strength but rather their mind, making sure they can convince people. He also says that he has already found support candidates for her, and Master Fang Mang and Fang Jia would help her with it. She sheepishly says that she would see. He then tells her that he heard that she was interested in someone recently and sent Fang Dun to find him. He advises her that Fang Dun is scary and so she shouldn't send him to meet people as he would scare them away. She says that Fang Dun was the one who said he would go, and he had even sent a D-tier creature to test him and Tian had been able to hold his own. She also adds that if he gets scared by Fang Dun then he is not worth it anyway. But Fang Quanshui has a feeling that there's more to Tian than meets the eye. She is excited to see what surprises he has in store for her. That weekend at the Fang family training field, Tian goes around the place and thinks there are so many people here, and they have all brought expensive-looking weapons. He decides to keep his distance as some of the people look dangerous. He overhears a conversation between two guys. One of them asks the other if all these people here are newly awakened people from different provinces. The other guy replies that they are, and that all the resources from the dungeons are controlled by the 4 major clans. If one wasn't part of the major clans then they could only hunt in the areas of the dungeons not owned by them. And there are not that many treasures in these places and it was dangerous as well. Tian has a card with the number 208 on it. It is announced that all those who have received a number should come for evaluation, according to their number, out of the ability tiers, which are S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. F is the lowest. After awakening, the level is fixed, and there are only a few people in the world who can awaken their abilities. Out of those who manage to awaken, 90% are at F tier. Hunters who are at D level and above make up just 1% of that number. The number of S tier hunters worldwide is close to none. There may not even be 10, but they are powerful enough to control an entire country. In fact, the military of country M is subject to a foreigner, the only S tier hunter of X country, G Boni. Tian waits in the queue for evaluation. When it's his turn, he is asked to place his hands close to an orb to test his power. So Tian brings his hand close to the glowing orb and an F appears on it, with a blank below it to suggest no occupation. Tian is surprised that he is just an F tier. Tiers below E were considered weak and would not be granted an occupation. From E onwards, occupations would be divided into warriors, mages, archers, assassins, summoners, and healers. 2 other guys who also just finished their evaluation make a scene out of being E-tier summoners. One of them says that he thought he would at least be a D-tier as he had summoned a great wolf once. The other guy says he can turn invisible for 5 seconds and other people had always thought he would be in a tier. Tian wonders why they're showing off. Then, another guy named Zheng Quan is evaluated as a D-tier berserker, and everyone watches in awe. Tian pauses to think while the 2 guys shrug and say that's life. Tian then checks his window where the progress is still at 1%. He wonders what level he would be if he leveled up completely. At the new recruits training center, the recruits are dressed in uniforms and have all become new recruits of the Fang family. A Fang elder tells them that he would be their instructor for various types of weapons. He talks about a legend where in ancient times, there was a unique martial arts that could bring out one's inner strength. He asks them to concentrate their inner force on their swords, which would enable them to kill from miles away. He says that even though they're all awakened hunters, their powers are nothing like the inner strength of those legends. And besides their abilities, the only way to wield their weapons is their true power. He explains that the differences in angle strength and speed could all affect their destructive power. He demonstrates with a smooth swing of his sword and slices bamboo shoots into pieces. Tian notes that this move is perfect status. The rest of the recruits also watch in amazement. Tian watches him demonstrate with a spear this time, and yet again, it's perfect status. He then uses an axe and other such weapons, all of which are perfect status. Tian feels happy as he could learn these from him to level up. At the weapons training hall, two guys are exhausted and complain about why they have to practice with weapons when they are mages who have been assigned to logistics. Fang Dun hears this and smacks them, asking how they could ignore the Fang Elder Swords. He tells them that if they could not wield a weapon, not even the logistics team would want them. He yells at them to go train properly, and they both run to do so. Meanwhile, in another corner of the room, Tian practices diligently. The system keeps reminding him to practice the posture correctly over and over again. After a while of practicing, he raises the sword and whacks it to the ground. His short sword skill has been raised to 100% and he has leveled up. Tian feels satisfied and decides to practice with an axe next. Some recruits watch Tian practice long and hard. They say he's been practicing for several days without taking a break. By now, Tian's axe skill is raised to 100% as well. He has also managed to do the same with a halberd and a few other weapons. Next, he wants to practice a long sword, but the elder didn't show a perfect strike with it, so he would have to learn it by himself. So he might not be able to reach 100% by just training. He might need to actually fight to master it. 1 week later, Fang Dun tells them that, as it has been a whole week, each of them should have found a suitable weapon. He then asks them to take that specific weapon to the combat simulation hall. Everyone goes to the hall excited that they actually get to fight, except for Tian, who is still training. They say that Tian must be a coward, which is why he is staying here in the practice room. It is said that after most hunters awaken, their abilities cannot be changed, so further practice is not required. What everyone pays attention to is killing monsters and using the rewards gained from them to buy equipment to improve their strength. They think that this is the only way to progress. No one knows how to improve their abilities, and they don't think about the relationship between refining their moves and improving their abilities. Two recruits walk towards the hall while talking about Tian. One of them says he's an F-tier idiot, just swinging weapons in the training room, without knowing what he is doing. The other guy says that he is just a teacher's pet. The other recruit replies that this is just an opportunity for him to get the attention of the instructors. He also says Tian's just been chosen by one of the masters of the Fang family personally, and there's nothing more to it. Fang Chunyi, who was passing by at the time, hears this and asks them if they really have people like that training here. He says Fang Dun is getting more and more stupid. Zheng Quan is walking right behind him. Fang Chunyi notices him and asks him why he's behind him and if he has something to say. Zheng says that he's a new D-tier berserker. He then says that everyone knows Zhang Chunyi is one of a kind in the Fang family and will be getting married to the family leader's daughter. He then bows to him and says he wants his help. Fang Chunyi calls him smart and agrees. He says that since he's D-tier, he could join his team directly next month, so he wouldn't need to waste his time training here, and Zheng is grateful to Fang Chunyi. Tian is still practicing with his long sword until he reaches 100%. When he's done training, he receives a special power called Inner Strength. This power would increase the user's attack and user's defense power. There is also a chance that a wielded weapon would use the user's willpower to deal huge damage to the target. Tian wonders if this inner strength is the same as the one the elder was talking about earlier. It is powerful and he is now proficient with weapons, so he decides to go try it out in combat. Tian soon reaches the portal to the combat zone. He thinks it looks pretty spectacular. As one of the recruits is about to enter the portal, he is stopped by the instructor and told that he can't enter. When asked why, he is told that the portal to the combat zone is only for those who are rank D and above, and since his rank is too low, he would not be allowed to go in. Other low-rank recruits argue that this is open to the public 24/7, so they should be allowed to use it, and that low-rankers are still ability users. The instructor says that rules are rules and priority is given to those with high ability. He also tells them that if they want to complain, they should go look for the person in charge. Parties are at the bottom of the food chain and only the strong could survive. High rankers are able to enter higher level dungeons, gaining more valuable resources. In every party and guild, 90% of the loot is taken by the top attackers, while those of low ability could only act as support, staying at the back or being crushed like ants during a guild war. The instructor asks the recruits if they really thought the Fang family is like a safe heaven. He also mentions that they always ensure strong recruits get priority. He then says that if they want to blame someone, they should blame their mothers for birthing them without strong abilities. The rest of them decide that they are just unlucky and leave. However, Tian stays back and thinks how they can just expect low rankers to just accept they're unlucky. So, he goes up to the man and asks him what if a person's true ability is not that of an F rank. The man calls Tian a brat and tells him not to bother acting cool. He says that before an actual combat, many beginners will believe that they are not just an F rank, only to enter and be proven wrong. He also says that trash like Tian who enter are only seeking death. Suddenly, a hand appears out of the portal. A guy pokes his head out and says that he needs people. He says he urgently needs tanks and asks them to follow him quickly. The instructor recognizes the guy to be from the Zheng Quan party. He asks him if he encountered any issues. The guy says they are in trouble so they need people immediately, and also says that Zheng has promised to give a reward. Tian says that is nice and volunteers to go. He asks if there is anyone else who is willing to join, as the more people there are, the better it would be, and a couple of people agree to join. The portal leads to an underground city with netherworld demons, and the difficulty level is a simulating D rank. The recruits are battling a D rank demon boss. It seems insanely powerful for being just a D rank. Not only does it have combat skills, it also knows magic. The boss is this strong and lesser demons keep spawning. One of the guys asks Zheng Quan if they should just head back as they should not take such risks, because even though they wouldn't die in this simulation, the senses are 100% real and too much simulation could cause a person to go insane. Another guy from the party also agrees to this and says that he heard that one of the newbies before broke his leg in the simulation. Even though his leg was still there without any injuries, he could no longer use his leg. Zheng remembers how Fang Chunyi had told him earlier that if he performed outstandingly in the D-rank underground city, he would let him be a captain. So he tells his party to not give up and keep going if they are men. The demon boss roars and thrashes its weapon to the ground. When it heads towards Zheng, he holds up his sword in order to block its attack, but it is too heavy and he is not able to keep her at bay for too long. He yells at his party and asks where the guy who went to the portal for help is. Tian and the other guys enter through the portal along with the guy who came to them for help. Tian notices that the combat practice underground city has an intense and imposing atmosphere. One of the guys says he is scared to be in a place with such an atmosphere. Another guy comforts him by saying that he would be safe with him. The guy asks the new party members to hurry up as Zheng can't wait any longer. Meanwhile, Zheng and his sword are flung across just as Tian and the others arrive. Zheng is incredibly happy to see them and asks them to quickly join the battle. Zheng then notices Tian and remembers him as the F-rank bookworm who only knows how to practice with weapons. He wonders what the use of calling him here is. The guy who brought them here tells Zheng that many people did not dare to enter after hearing that even Zheng Quan was facing issues, and these three were the only ones who were willing to enter. Picking up his sword, Zheng says they would use what they have. Zheng orders two of them to flank the left and right side of the boss to attract its attention. Tian and two others are ordered to just stay in the surrounding and clear the lesser demons. The demons just walk about and the guy fearfully wonders what he should do. He is then told to attack those lesser demons or else they would interfere with their fight with the boss. So Tian realizes that the lesser demons won't attack them unless they show hostility. Tian takes his sword out of the sheath and the demon notices this and closes in on him. The demon is an underworld soldier and its attack defense is to weaken its target's defense. The level is not easy for beginners to handle, but Tian sees it as the perfect time to test out his new sword style that he just practiced called Single Perfect Strike. The terror the demon inflicts on him is on a completely different level compared to the D-rank Python from the other day. He tells himself that it is just a basic demon and nothing more. He runs towards it and attacks while nailing his Single Perfect Strike. The demon's health is low. This is his first time using it in a battle after vigorous practice, and he was almost able to kill it. With yet another strike, the demon is killed. As expected by Tian, although he was only an F-rank ability user, the system's E-rank monsters are nothing to him. He is now confident that he could even challenge the Python from before. Tian comes across yet another demon and attempts to slay this one as well. The other recruit watches Tian in action. Tian seems so calm and relaxed to him, so he wonders if the demon is actually weak. And since he is an F rank as well, he wonders if he would be able to fight it too. So he hesitantly goes up to the demon and hits it on the back with his staff. It turns around and growls at him, leaving the guy feeling scared. Tian then notices what's going on and tries to help his fellow party member out. He advises him to not panic as a demon of this level is not that difficult to face. He also tells him to not be intimidated by its aura. He then tells him to stay behind and watch how he deals with it. In the meantime, Zheng is battling the boss monster. He is frustrated that even after fighting it for so long, the monster's sword radiance is getting stronger and stronger. So he decides that he has no choice but to use his last resort. So he immediately activates Iron Blood. Among the 10,000 D-rank hunters, only Zhang had this ability, which instantly increases his defense and power. He orders everyone to attack with him, thereby dividing the boss's attention and block its attacks. So they all rush forward towards the boss to attack it. Tian continues to fight the lesser demons while the other recruit just watches. So he tells him to not just sit there and watch, and asks him what the point of coming here is if he is not going to do anything. But before he can answer Tian, the demon shows up next to him and the guy runs away, saying that he wants to go home. After strengthening, Zheng's attacks are indeed effective. The demon has not hit him once after that either, but his body seems to be moving slower and slower. He wonders if the slashes made by the boss's sword have a paralysis effect. The scared recruit continues to run, causing the other recruit to yell at him to come back as they are in the midst of a battle. Zheng still feels paralyzed in mid-air. He is not able to move Ithera, and the next moment, he disappears. While the party is surprised, one guy explains that in the underground dungeon, before receiving a lethal attack, one would be teleported out. So they collectively decide to run out as they would not be able to beat TH boss by themselves. When the first recruit exits the portal, he is surprised to see that Zheng is already there. He asks Zheng why he is out here as he had just seen him in the underground dungeon. Another recruit who also just exited asks him why he's questioning Zheng when it's all because of him. He then punches him and says that Zheng must have been distracted by him running away, or else he would have easily dodged the boss attacks. The guy apologizes and says that he was just scared and did not mean to run away. The whole group is out now and they are all yelling at the guy and accusing him of being the reason they could not finish the mission. Upon hearing all this, Zheng thinks that it has to be that guy's fault too, because it is impossible for him to lose. So they proceed to beat him up for interrupting their mission. Inside the underground dungeon, Tian has wiped out all of the lesser demons. He then looks for the boss and the rest of his party members. He notices that the boss still has some health left. Tian gets angry at his party members. He thinks that they should either not start the fight or finish it. He wants to destroy TH boss until there's nothing left. The system shows him the boss's attack style, which is that it weakens the target's defense and its sword slashes burn everything and cause a paralysis effect. Tian is glad that the system is not completely useless, as it just helped him perceive the boss's skill set. Tian prepares to attack the boss, but the strike is easily blocked. Tian notes that the boss has a high defense but a low attack. As long as he is careful not to get hit and paralyzed, he would be able to beat the boss. Tian also thinks that this would be an ideal time to completely master that ability, and raises his sword in order to attack the boss. Outside the combat simulation, Zheng is torturing the guy by beating him up. He says he would hit him until his anger is appeased. The other recruits watch this nervously. A girl says that if this continues, he'd be beaten to death. The guy next to her tells her not to say anything or she would get into trouble too. Others talk about how one person has not exited yet, referring to Tian. They wonder if the person was so afraid that they could not even run away. Although there were ability users in the crowd, not one of them dared to stop the bullies. This is the rule in the world of ability users. The strong are to be respected. Suddenly, someone yells at Zheng to stop what he's doing. Tian shows up and asks Zheng how, as a leader, he could blame others when the boss humiliated him. Tian then calls him a loser and tells him to blame no one but himself for being too weak. The other recruits around them think Tian has gone mad, as he is just an F tier trying to insult a D rank. Zheng becomes furious, drops the guy he was beating up and turns his attention towards Tian. He dares Tian to say what he called him again. Tian does not hesitate to say that he is weak again. Earlier in the underground dungeon, the boss's blade's aura had touched Tian, eliminating the protection of his gloves. His blade aura had a 10% paralysis effect, so he knows that he can't drag this out for too long. Tian would have to hit him with perfect timing accuracy, so he decides to make a perfect strike with his sword and is successful in doing so. The health of the boss demon decreases, which Tian is glad to see. He uses the perfect status with the halberd like the elder had taught him and manages to chop off the boss's arm. Next, Tian uses the axe and perfectly copied the technique that the elder had shown him. He cuts through the demon's head in half. The bar seems to be empty, so Tian is happy that he finally did it. But all of a sudden, he feels his body getting paralyzed. Earlier, the system had informed Tian that he would have to be in a near-death state to be able to activate internal force. And since the internal force conditions have now been met, it is activated. Because of this, full protection has been activated and his attack power and defense power is increased by 25%. And there would also be a chance that the user's willpower would be imbued into his weapon, causing huge damage to the target. Upon internal force activation, the current negative effects are also removed. Once he has defeated the demon boss, Tian spots an object on the ground. It is a reward for beating the boss. The skill book is nether swordsmanship. To attain these skills, all he would have to do is smash the object. So, Tian crushes it and immediately, an aura erupts from it and surrounds him. The system shows that he has earned new combat skills called Uppercut and Combo Punch, novice level weapon skills of weapons such as Long Sword, Short Sword, Halberd and Axe, and intermediate level special abilities called the Nether Swordsmanship. But the mastery level is only at 10%. Tian is disappointed as he thought that he would be granted full mastery, but it is only at 10%. He wonders if this is happening on purpose. Back outside the portal, Tian tells Zheng that if he could not beat a boss that someone weaker than him was able to beat, then it's clear that he is nothing but a weakling. Zheng angrily swears at Tian and rushes forward to punch him, but Tian dodges it. Zheng continues to attempt to hit Tian, but they are all dodged by Tian with ease. When Zheng tries again, Tian grabs his first and grips it hard. Zheng wonders how Tian is able to do this. He can't believe an F tier is so strong. Zheng shouts at Tian to stop being so arrogant. But before anything else can be said, Fang Quanshui's voice interrupts them. She walks in and asks who allowed them to fight in the training room. In the control room, a man watches the battle that took place between Tian and the Ghost General boss. He is completely taken aback by this. The other man in the room asks him what it is. He tries to play it off by saying that it is nothing and that he got bit by a mosquito. He thinks to himself about how an F tier could beat the Ghost General boss. He then wonders if his data is wrong. He then decides that he can't let anyone find out or else he would be in trouble. So he presses on restart. Fang Quanshui questions Zheng and Tian if they know what the consequences for fighting in the newcomer area are. The instructor who had earlier prevented students from entering the portal for their low ranks shows up and asks Fang Quanshui what she is doing here while addressing her as mistress. The recruits hear this and realize she must be the legendary only daughter of the Fang family. They also say that she is very pretty and out of their league. Fang Quanshui says that she can't believe they were fighting. She asks the instructor if he was even watching over them. As the instructor tries to come up with an explanation, she notices the newcomer that Zheng beat up earlier on the floor. She asks the instructor what happened to the student as he seems to be injured. The instructor blatantly lies to her that he is a weak newcomer and got injured while training in the dungeon. She asks Ben to go and monitor them. She also asks if there is a healer among the recruits. One recruit says that she is a healer and Fang Quanshui asks her to go help him. She then wonders how the guy received injuries in a combat simulation. She knows that the instructor is lying to her face, so she thinks that if she does not do anything about this, then she would not be worthy of being the daughter of the Fang family. The girl heals the injured newcomer, and Ben returns after a few minutes and whispers to Fang Quanshui about everything that had happened earlier as it was caught on tape. After hearing it, she says that is bold. Fang Quanshui announces that as one of the executive directors of the Fang family's Awakened People division, she has the responsibility to regulate the actions of hunters like Zheng Quan. She then says that she is shocked to hear that some people here are acting this way. She says that he should be ashamed of himself as no progress was made and he bullied the weak. She then tells the other recruits that they would not be alone when they enter the dungeon and have to completely rely on teamwork and cooperation. She tells them how they stood idly and did nothing when they saw their teammate was being bullied. She then says that if this was the kind of teammates they were, how could anyone trust them in the future? She then points to Zheng Quan and says that he was the one leading the bullying, which is not in line with the Fang family's beliefs, and because of this, he would be banned from training. Zheng Quan is shocked that he is being fired. The instructor tries to tell Fang Quanshui that Zheng is one of the top students among the newly awakened, and if they got rid of him, they would be seriously harmed. To this, Fang replies that he would also be expelled from the Fang family and never be taken back. As the instructor is being dragged away, he says that the master had requested him to look after Zheng Quan. However, Fang Quanshui does not reply and simply flicks her hair. All the students admire Fang Quanshui and think that she is incredible and dignified and a true heir of the Fang family. She then mentions Tian's name and the recruits think that he might be getting expelled too. Tian also sweats with worry. Fang Quanshui walks closer to him and asks him if he remembers her when they met at school before. Tian still looks up at her in fear. Fang Quanshui also notices this and thinks that he is misunderstanding. So she asks him if he does not have anything to say to her. In her mind, she thinks that if Tian bowed down to her now, she'd have no choice but to forgive him as he had helped her before. Tian finally speaks and asks her why she has to dress like that. He says it's very ugly now that she's right in front of him. He also says that he is very uncomfortable. Fang Quanshui is beyond offended to hear this. She asks him if he is mad and if she isn't actually dressed properly. He tells her that the color is not symmetrical, so she yells at him again, and the men think that she is going to be mad all the time that she is with Tian from now. Suddenly, someone calls out Fang Quanshui's name. She and Tian turn around to see Fang Chunni with Zheng Quan tagging behind him. He tells her that it was just a small fight and it is not worth firing people because of it. One of the students wonders who this man is as he just called Quanshui by her name. Another student tells her that that's Fang Chunni, who is the adopted son of the family master and basically Fang Quanshui's brother. Fang Quanshui tells him that he doesn't understand yet as Zheng Quan was bullying others, and if he was not stopped, he would have killed someone. She then says that if they keep someone like this in their sect, there is bound to be trouble. Fang Chunni tells her that she is the one that hasn't understood because he has allowed Zheng into his team, and if he kept teaching him from now, there would not be any trouble. He assures her that he would deal with it. When asked how he would deal with it, Fang Chunni says that they should give the person that Zheng Quan bullied a chance to beat him up, which would make it fair. Zheng Quan also agrees to this and says he would endure it. However, the guy who was bullied says that it is fine and he does not wish to do it. In his mind, he thinks that if he did it, then Zheng would bully him again for it. Tian thinks that this whole thing is well thought out by Fang Chunni, as no one would dare to hit Zheng, and this would not resolve anything. Fang Chunni says that because the guy insisted that he didn't want to hit Zheng, this is resolved now. But to everyone's surprise, Tian says that he would do it for him. Fang Quanshui questions him while saying his name, and Fang Chunni says that the name sounds familiar. So Zheng lets him know that this is the guy who got chosen personally by the representatives. Fang Chunni thinks that Tian is bold and he's also got someone who's powerful backing him. So he tells Tian that this is awkward because Zheng did not even bully him, so he shouldn't be the one to hit him. He advises Tian to not get involved with this. Tian then says that he does not care even if Zheng fights him back, but he just wants to finish their fight. He also says that if he lost, he would leave, and if Zheng lost, he would have to go. Fang Chunni agrees to this and says he does not have a reason to refuse. Fang Quanshui asks Tian if he can actually do this because Zheng is a D rank. Unable to look at her, Tian closes his eyes and replies to her. He says that he has to do this so Zheng would not bother them any longer. Seeing this, she angrily asks him why he's doing that, and Tian asks her to stop coming closer to him. Fang Chunni wonders what's going on here as he had just heard them arguing a minute ago. And Quanshui wasn't normally like this, so he thinks that she might know him from somewhere. He also wonders if he's a relative of hers, but then decides that he can't be as he knows all her relatives. Before the fight begins, Fang Chunni reminds Zheng Quan to hit Tian hard, and Zheng asks him not to worry about it as he is stronger than Tian. Soon, the fight between Zheng and Tian takes place, and the other newcomers cannot seem to believe that Tian is just an F tier, and he is able to hold his own against Zheng Quan. He's able to swiftly dodge every single one of Zheng's blows. The recruits can't understand how Tian is able to still be standing after so long despite going against a D rank. Soon, Zheng enters a state of blood rage and is desperate to kill Tian. He continues to attack him but is unsuccessful. Tian realizes Zheng is really out to kill him and decides to test out his new ability called Nether Swordsmanship. So, Tian gives this new skill a shot, and within moments, Zheng's strong sword is sliced into pieces. Zheng is absolutely shocked and wonders how Tian broke his sword like that. The other recruits cannot believe that an F tier was able to beat a D tier. They are all amazed that Tian won against Zheng Quan. Fang Quanshui tells Fang Chunni that Tian is a lot stronger than he thinks he is. Fang Chunni doesn't reply to this. He thinks about how there was a weird, ghostly aura around the blade, which increases the cutting power. He recognizes it to be Nether Swordsmanship, which Tian could have only received from defeating the Ghost General. He then thinks that there's no way Tian could have defeated it as he's just an F tier, so he questions if the entry test was incorrect. Fang Chunni then says that he did not realize how pathetic Zheng Quan was, and so he would remove him from his raiding party. He then goes up to Tian and says that the entry test must have got his power level wrong. He also says he wants to take Tian to get tested again so they don't underestimate his abilities again. Tian replies to him by saying that he doesn't care about what power level he is and that he doesn't need a rank title to prove his strength. Fang Quanshui convinces him to take the test again too, as she believes his result was wrong as well. She also says that if he gets a higher result, he would be able to enter the higher tier dungeons, enter the raiding party, and it would overall be more convenient. Fang Chunni also informs Tian that he could make sure Tian gets into a raiding party if his strength is really that high. In the testing room, they wait for the results. Soon, the results show that Tian is just an F tier. The person conducting the test also says that he is really an F tier, and his readings are very ordinary. Fang Quanshui says that the test must be malfunctioning. The woman tells her that they've used the best technology at their disposal for this and Tian is nothing but an F tier. Fang Chunny believes there's no way Tian could have beaten the D tier dungeon boss if he's just an F rank, so he wonders how he was able to receive the nether swordsmanship skill. Meanwhile, Tian assumes that maybe because his powers come from the system, the test was not able to detect it. Fang Chunny then assumes that Quan Shui probably lowered the stats of the Ghost General so Tian could achieve the Ghost Sword ability. He angrily thinks that Tian is a threat. He then asks him if he wants to join the raiding party and go to the dungeon next week. Tian asks him what he means as he just went in today. Fang Chunny says to Tian that today was just a simulated test for newcomers to get some experience for the dungeon. He then says that he wants Tian to go into the dungeon for real because he knows that he is strong enough. Fang Quanshui tries to reason with Fang Chunny by saying that he is still just an F tier, and going into a dungeon for real is too dangerous. Chunny tells her to calm down and says that it would just be a routine E rank dungeon. He also adds that even though Tian is an F rank, he managed to beat Zheng Quan who is a D rank, so an E tier dungeon should be easy for him. Fang Chunny asks Tian again if he would want to go in next week. Tian takes some time to think about it. Actual combat experience would help him to level up much faster. He could also upgrade his skills much faster in the dungeon and that might help him get rid of the system. So Tian says that he would join in. Fang Chunny walks up to Tian while saying that is excellent. He then puts on a glove and shakes Tian's hand and welcomes him to the Fang family's raiding party. He tells him he would see him next Friday, and then says that when he's in the dungeon, he might run into some issues, which he wouldn't be able to help with. In the dungeon, dark monsters appear. It appears to be connected to another world, which is constantly transporting monsters in. Awakened hunters discovered that they could kill the monsters to gain monster crystals. They contain a huge amount of power and thus they became highly treasured. Over the last few decades, dungeons have appeared all over the world. When they showed up, all hell broke loose. Every so often, new dungeons will appear and old ones will die off. In order to maintain their control over a decent amount of dungeons, the 4 major families have assembled raiding parties made up of the most elite people to explore the dungeons. 1 week later, in front of the portal to the Fang family's E-tier dungeon, the Fang family raiding party 18 raiders wait for Tian to join them. One of them asks the others why the newbie is not here yet. He then says that if Tian is late, they would just leave him behind and go. Another person says that it was ordered by the Fang family manager so they would have to wait. That's when Fang Chunny walks in with Tian beside him. Chunny tells the raiding party that they are very eager and impatient. They immediately apologize to him and say that they did not mean to complain. Chunny asks them to not worry as he is not scolding them. He tells them that he has brought Tian with him. He introduces him as an F tier and asks the rest of them to take care of him and make sure no accidents happen to him. The raiding party consists of C tier hunter and team leader Liu Tian, D tier hunter Lan Zimo, who is a healer, D tier hunter Qin Kaifeng, and D tier hunter Lin Wu. All of them wonder if the manager is messing with them as he has asked an F tier like Tian to join them. The 5 of them soon enter through the portal and reach the real dungeon and the battle begins. The E-tier dungeon is a worm tunnel and the task given to Tian by the system is to eliminate all the beasts. Tian hopes that the creatures in the worm tunnel don't look too weird. If they are asymmetrical, it would be too disgusting for him. Liu Tian tells him to stop looking around so much and informs him that when they cross the bridge, monsters would start to appear. Lan Zimo tells Tian to take care of himself as they would not always be able to protect him. They soon reach the edge of the tunnel. Liu Tian, the leader, tells everyone to get ready and Lan Zimo uses a defense boost to protect the 4 of them. The monsters come rushing out of the cave and the hunters charge forward. Tian wonders why she did not give him the defense boost. He then assumes that she may have forgotten to do so. She tells Tian to not hang around at the back because otherwise he would not get any reward. Tian does not care about the rewards and so he also moves forward towards the monsters. The other 3 are already battling the monsters. Tian joins them and immediately slices one of the creatures. Liu Tian compliments him and asks him if he is not scared of being in a dungeon for the first time. Lan Zimo also watches Tian continue to slay creatures and thinks that even though Tian is an F tier, he won't go down easily. Soon, a monster gets close to Lan Zimo and she immediately activates Succubus Temptation, which enables her to control monsters for a short time and make them do whatever she wants. She then plans to give Tian a mishap. Tian has just stabbed a monster but is not able to pull the sword out. It seems stuck and Tian thinks that the sword must have been poorly made. Suddenly, a monster sets its eyes on Tian. Just as he pulls out the sword, the monster pounces on Tian, who moves away in time. Tian is confused and wonders what's going on with this particular monster because it coordinated its attack. Then the monster pounces at him while another one attempts to attack him from behind. Tian doesn't understand why they are all focusing on him. Meanwhile, the raiders watch this, thinking their job is done. It was a monster that killed Tian, so not even an autopsy could prove that it was them. But to everyone's surprise, Tian rises back up whilst using nether swordsmanship, ghost entanglement. He twirls the two monsters among themselves and then easily chops them up with one move. When he's done, he asks the rest of the party if they're done and if there's any more beasts here. Still taken aback by what happened, Liu Tian tells him that they are done. Tian notices that the monsters in this dungeon dissolve when they're dead. He was ready to clean up the corpses, but they seem to disappear on their own. So he tells them to lead to the next level as they know the way. Liu Tian leads them through one of the tunnels, saying that this would be the way to go and fight the boss. Tian asks them why they are not going through the other tunnel, as he had seen monsters coming out of that tunnel before. Liu Tian tells him that way has only smaller beasts, and if they went this way, they could meet the boss. So going that way would be pointless. So Tian tells the group to go that way and fight the boss, and that he would go the other way. He says that he would not be comfortable until the dungeon is completely cleared. Lan Zimo asks the other raiders if Tian noticed her actions and decided to go separately on purpose. Liu Tian tells her that he doesn't think Tian is that perceptive. So to find out, he asks her to go with him. If Tian refuses to allow her, that would mean he figured out what she did earlier. And in that case, they would have to kill him themselves. If Tian doesn't object, that would mean that they're clear and Lan Zimo could kill him by herself. She agrees and follows Tian and tells him that she would accompany him as it is dangerous to go alone. She also says that she is a mage, so she could help treat his injuries and give remote assistance. Tian says he does not really care and asks her if the others do not need her help. She says that this E-rank dungeon should not be an issue for them at all because they're C and D rank hunters. Because Lan Zimo has not returned, Liu Tian tells the others that Tian must not have found out, so Lan Zimo would find a way to get rid of him. He then says that they should go fight the boss and not delay their payment. Tian and Lan Zimo soon enter a dark portion of the tunnel. Tian says that they should have brought torches. Lan Zimo tells him to not worry about it because she can take care of it. Her wand acts as a light source illuminating the dark tunnel. They are finally able to see the creatures, which are man-eating ants. Tian asks her to keep the light on and races to slay the ants. Within moments, he is able to fight off a couple of the man-eating ants. This dungeon seems far too weak for Tian. He thinks that it may be because he managed to fight a D-tier boss before. This task does not seem difficult at all. The man-eating ants fall victim to his swordsmanship one at a time, and soon, he is done defeating them all. However, the system shows that only 30% of the task has been completed. Lan Zimo watches this and thinks that this is too easy for Tian. She wants to find a way to turn off the light. Tian leads the way and Lan Zimo follows. Suddenly, he stops and shoves his arm inside the walls of the tunnel. Feeling puzzled, Lan Zimo asks him what he is doing. Tian says that since the creatures are big and small, he figured that there may be some hiding in the crevices. He asks her to help him while he looks, and she thinks about what a weirdo he is. Soon, more creatures have appeared and Tian once again manages to slay them all. After fighting off the ants for half an hour, Tian's task completion level is still at 60%. They reach the end of the tunnel and it's a dead end. Tian is surprised because he is not at 100% completion yet, but there are no more creatures here. Lan Zimo then says that this cliff is very high. Tian agrees, but before he can complete his sentence, she gives him a shove from behind. As he falls down, Lan Zimo tells him to not blame her as Tian had upset her master. The pit that she pushed him into seems so deep, so Lan Zimo is sure that Tian won't be able to make it out of there. She is happy that she could get some good rewards for completing a task of this kind. However, in the pit, Tian hangs midway with the help of his sword, which is wedged in between a ridge. He can't believe that Fang Chunni had asked these people to kill him. He's also not able to see anything, so he thinks that he might have fallen down quite a bit. He tries to think of a way to get back up to the cliff, but then he sees a light glowing in the distance, so he decides to get to the bottom instead and check it out. So he pulls out the sword and allows himself to fall for a bit of a distance and then lodges his sword in between the rocks again. He can now clearly see that what he saw earlier was water, so he jumps down to the ground beside it. From the cave nearby, a swarm of E-tier ghostly moths fly out. These creatures release a toxic powder into the air which weakens their prey, then finishes them off with their razor-sharp mandibles. So Tian tells himself that he can't waste time with the ghostly moths. He uses inner strength and nether swordsmanship and swings his swords around at the moths. Almost immediately, the ghostly moths get sliced into tiny pieces and are defeated by Tian. The system then lets him know that the dungeon boss called Armored Insect has also been defeated by the other hunters, and therefore 99% of the task is now completed. Tian is surprised that even after beating the boss, the task completion level is at 99%. So he wonders if the hunters missed a few creatures due to their carelessness because he did not miss any down here. As the dungeon boss has been defeated, Liu Tian orders everyone to pack up the rewards and get going. Haifeng feels disappointed that the rewards are just a few demon crystals and shield materials. He says that they aren't even worth anything at this point and that E-tiers are a complete waste of time. Liu Tian asks him to not worry as Fang Chunyi would reward them well. Just as they exit out of their tunnel, Lan Zimo exits out of the other. Liu Tian asks her if she did it and she proudly says that she threw him off a cliff that's very deep. So he says that is great. He also tells her that she did a good job and lets her know that Fang Chunyi would give them rewards. Tian continues to explore the place and look for any beasts that he may have missed. But even after searching in all of the nooks and crannies, he is not able to find anything. So he sits down next to a bunch of rocks. He notices a shiny object among the rocks. So he takes apart the rocks one by one to reveal an altar of some sort. Tian can't help noticing how one of the corners is broken, so the symmetry is all wrong. He sees the broken pieces on the ground and tries to put them together. The altar seems to still have some cracks, but it looks better to him. He then notices that the tray is not placed in the center, so he moves it to the middle and then he is satisfied with how it looks. Immediately, he receives a message from the system that the secret dungeon conditions of restoring the altar have been met, and the hidden room can now be opened. Before Tian can comprehend what is going on, the water swirls into a whirlpool and reveals the opening of a secret tunnel. Thinking that the remaining 1% must be down there, he jumps down. There, he comes face to face with a D-tier catastrophic spider queen. This beast could attack with corrosive, use restraining webs, shoot venom, and its claws and mandibles are razor sharp. Tian is unfazed that there is a D-tier monster in an E-tier dungeon. The catastrophic spider queen jumps at him to attack, but her attacks are slow enough for Tian to dodge. So he is hopeful that he can beat it. Suddenly, she shoots her restraining webs at Tian. The web wraps itself around him and Tian is unable to escape. While he is restrained, she shoots venom at him. Soon, poison is detected in Tian's body by the system and the catastrophic spider queen gets closer to him while Tian thinks that this may be how he dies. Because of the neurotoxins, Tian is entering a semi-coma state and the poisoning progress is at 51%. Tian opens his eyes and wonders how he's still alive. He looks up to see the catastrophic spider queen gathering other smaller spider creatures. Tian realizes that she wants to feed him to her children. The poisoning progress is soon at 62%. Tian reminisces about a conversation he once had with YY. She had told him that there would always be an antidote near the place where there is a poisonous substance. Tian had told her that is something one would only find in a novel and such things do not exist in reality. YY says that is not necessarily right and that living beings are connected by a symbiotic relationship. If something is poisonous, then the only thing that can live beside it must be something that has the ability to resist the poison. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to stay alive. This had made sense to Tian. So, Tian decides to take YY's word and tries to analyze and study his surroundings. He sees some quartz crystals which has no detoxifying effects, some soil with spider poison, centipede feces which consists of poisonous digestive centipede juice and moss containing spider poison. Feeling disappointed, Tian thinks that these things are really just stories. The poisoning progress is at 70% and he feels as if he is about to die. In the corner, he spots a plant species called Wuling Ginseng which has a detoxification ability, grows on rotten soil, and gets nutrients from the waste of the poisonous substances. Tian sees that this herb could be useful so he grabs a few leaves. When the leaves are in his hand, the poisoning progress completely stops. He thinks that this leaf's antitoxin must be a passive ability. He is informed by the system that once the leaf is crushed, it would slightly relieve the effect of poisoning. Seeing this, he throws it away as he wants to wait for it to be at 100%. He keeps waiting for it to fill up completely while thinking if he should take the leaves and crush them or not. Soon the poison progress is at 93%, and the spider queen calls out to her children and tells them to eat him. As they crawl closer to Tian, the poison level reaches 100%. Because he has collected 100%, Tian has gained permanent resistance to this poison. Tian is amazed as he thought he was going to die. He didn't know that the system would have this kind of function. Tian then plucks some leaves to crush them. He also grabs his sword and kills some spiders. Tian now feels refreshed as the poison state has also been removed. However, the spider queen is furious that Tian has killed her children. She shoots out her restraining web at him again, but this time he dodges it and cuts it with his sword. While dealing with huge monsters like the spider queen, The scope of its attacks could be limited while fighting in close range, so Tian gets closer to her. When he is right under the Spider Queen, he pricks her with the sword and dashes forward in order to cut her open. This angers the Spider Queen, who shoots out more restraining webs to the ceiling of the cave. So Tian plucks some more of the ginseng leaves when suddenly he feels something hurt his leg. It's the children of the Spider Queen. Tian slices this one too, once again making the Spider Queen furious. It doesn't take too long before she transforms herself into a catastrophic giant spider woman berserker form. Tian is surprised but not scared. He jumps and runs in an attempt to dodge her web attacks. He notices that the attack pattern hasn't changed much. She also stays in a high place, so Tian tells her that won't stop him from hitting her. But his attacks bounce off of her. Tian is bewildered as this is his strongest skill. He is soon caught up in a maze of her webs, and after a couple more shoots, Tian finds himself trapped. He has absolutely no room to move. He realizes that the Spider Queen is really smart and this was its true intention. Tian is frustrated that he did not think of cutting the webs one by one. He thinks that he should have known that this was the Spider Queen's plan all along. Even if he cut them carelessly now, the originally inactive spider threads would be activated and the situation would become worse. The Spider Queen shoots out poison at Tian again. He crushes the leaves again, thinking that it might not work, but it gives him 30 seconds of poison immunity. Making use of this opportunity, Tian immediately shoots up towards the Spider Queen. She notices him and also shoots out her webs at him. Tian skillfully cuts right through the web and stabs her spinneret easily as it doesn't have any armor protecting it. He realizes that this is the Spider Queen's weak point and continues to stab her. Soon, the catastrophic Spider Queen explodes and falls apart. He waits and sees that there won't be another phase of transformation. The other smaller spiders crawl up to him and look at him as if they're begging for mercy. However, Tian says that he wouldn't have come searching for them if he didn't want to kill them all, which is what he does. Soon, Tian's mission to eliminate all the beasts in the underground city has been completed. For this, he receives a storage ring which he could use to store objects. The ring would shrink the objects and store them, which could then be pulled out whenever he needed them. His gloves are also upgraded into intermediate level gloves, and he could gain physical and poison defense once per day. Nether swordsmanship has also been leveled up after complete mastery has been reached at level 1. He also notices that his actual combat has boosted his stats a lot. His radar chart has grown a lot too. Soon the chart would be complete. For completing the underground city's hidden mission, Tian receives a jigsaw fragment. He picks it up and is puzzled that there is just one piece. The system informs him that if he collected all the other jigsaw pieces, he would be able to restore God's bone. Seeing this, Tian throws away the jigsaw piece because he does not want to go through the trouble of collecting them all, and just one piece would be of no use to him. But the piece automatically fixes itself onto the floating window. Tian tries to grab it out furiously, while thinking that this system is always making his life more difficult. The mysterious God's bone fragment appeared and energy fluctuations have appeared in all the portal around the world. The world's strongest people have all felt that something will happen. The 4 raiders show up at Fang Chunni's office. He asks them how it went. He hopes that they haven't let people find out that there's something fishy about Tian's death. Lan Zimo tells him that they wouldn't dare to not finish a task that their manager has given them. She also tells him that she pushed Tian into a bottomless cliff, and as long as he cannot fly, he would be dead. And once the portal closes and his corpse is teleported out, it'll seem like he fell and there won't be any trace. Fang Chunni says that this is a great achievement, for which they would be rewarded handsomely. He then grabs hold of Lan Zimo and asks her to tell him what she wants, and says that he would definitely grant that. She says she would not dare to make requests because anything that he gives her would be good. So Fang Chunni tells her that she is very thoughtful. He also says that he would treat her well, while grabbing her, leaving her feeling uncomfortable. He then asks them to hurry up and go settle their accounts at the appraisal hall, and that he would give them their rewards later on. He tells them to act miserable when they get there and not let anyone get suspicious of them. At the appraisal hall, they walk up to a counter and Liu Tian says that they're here to report their results. The woman behind the desk says that the mission statement said that this group was a 5-man team, so she asks them where the 5th member is. They immediately act like they're upset and dramatically say that even though he was an F tier and had great potential, they couldn't protect him and so he died. She says that's a disaster. However, in her mind, she thinks why they are acting like this because someone dies all the time in dungeons. After checking their rewards, their total is 239,675. Suddenly, a voice calls out to them and tells them to wait. It is none other than Tian, who shows up with his own bag of rewards. Lan Zemo and the others are stunned that Tian is still alive, so Tian asks her if it's because she told them that he died. She has nothing to say in return, so the woman at the desk asks him to bring out the resources he got. He takes out some crystals from the bag, and from his storage ring he pulls out more magic crystals. Although the crystals are not big, there are plenty of them, and the woman is surprised at the profit they earned, which amounts to 493,645. She says that even if this is divided between 5 people, each person would get almost as much profit as one can get from the C-tier underground city. At the Fang family meeting room, an assistant briefs Fang Daxang on everything that happened that day. He asks her to tell him about the income anomaly in the underground city that she mentioned. He asks her which underground city it is. She informs him that it was the insect cave, and according to the settlement staff down there, the income has almost doubled. Fang Chunny gets up immediately upon hearing the words insect cave. The girl explains that there's a guy named Yin Yongtian who single-handedly submitted almost 500,000 worth of magic crystals, and the total income has almost reached 1 million, which is 50% of the Fang family's share. Fang Quanshui gets up too after realizing that she's talking about Tian. Fang Daxang asks what happened to both of them and why they're making such a fuss. They both immediately say that it's nothing. The elder says that Tian is an F-tier hunter who joined them recently, and that Fang Quanshui personally recruited him. Quanshui sweats nervously and doesn't know what to say. Fang Daxang says that this is rare for her to choose someone, so he asks her if she knows him since back then. She shyly says that he is a student in their school, and after she saw his strength, she told Fang Dun to pull him into their drill group. Fang Chunny angrily says that the Liu Tian squad that Tian joined is his subordinates group, and they had told him that Tian left the team without permission and didn't obey commands. He also says that Tian acts strange and does not seem like a good person. The elder speaks up for Tian by saying that Tian is very hard-working and has the best score in the weapon class that he taught. He also mentions that he actually likes him. He then says that as far as he can tell, Tian seems to be a person with integrity and not someone who would steal things. Fang Chunny stares at the elder in fury and thinks that it looks like he must be tired of living. The girl then reads from her report. She says that according to underground city statistics, all of the income is normal. Only the insect cave's income is increased, so this should rule out the possibility of pillaging. So Fang Daxang says that when they put it this way, it sounds like he's still an F-tier but a talented person. Fang Quanshui replies that even though he's an F-tier, he can defeat a D-tier. She says she doesn't know why his strength evaluation is always at the F-tier. So Fang Daxang says that's good, and since Tian is able to make money so well, he suggests that they should put him into the assault team officially, and since Fang Quanshui is the one recruited him, he would be her subordinate. He then says that he's also thinking of letting Quanshui participate in the company's affairs. He also says that she would have to build her own assault team afterwards. Fang Chunny angrily thinks how Liu Tian is such a good for nothing, as he wasn't even able to do such a small task. Fang Daxang notices this and asks him why he looks like that and if he has something to say. He says he has nothing to say. He then thinks that the price of messing with his plans would be death. At the Q Tang University, a lecture is going on. However, all eyes seem to be on Tian. He wonders why everyone is looking at him. Even the teacher keeps staring at him. After class, Tian and YY walk home. She asks him where he's been recently because she hasn't seen him, and he's also not replied to any of her messages. Tian says that he's just been too tired to come to university, and his grades are good enough, so being gone for 2 weeks wouldn't make a difference. So she says that she heard people saying that he joined the Fang family. So she asks if it has anything to do with him not attending classes. Tian wonders who let that slip and just tells YY that he doesn't want to join the Fang family, and that he has no abilities. YY realizes that Tian doesn't want to talk about this, so she decides to let it be for now. As they pass by an alley, they see a couple of guys and a girl beating up someone. Seeing that they're bullying him, YY shouts at them to leave him alone. One of them tells her that she's getting the wrong idea, while another guy tells her to not stick her nose where it doesn't belong. She then says that it's unfair for so many people to pick on just one guy. One of the bullies walks towards her while saying that she shouldn't think that they wouldn't hit her. Just as he's about to hit her, Tian throws a punch to his face, causing him to fall back. Tian tells him that if they have a problem, they should talk it out and not beat people up for no reason, and that bullying people only shows what weak cowards they are. Suddenly, the guys realize that he's Yin Yongtian. The girl also realizes that he's the Fang family guy. Soon, the bullies run away, thinking that the guy they bullied has a bodyguard. YY goes up to the guy and asks him if he's okay and if they should take him to the hospital. He immediately gets up and yells at his bullies that they should be glad to be alive. He also says that he has a bodyguard now, so he would like to see them try to beat him up now. This leaves Tian and YY feeling confused. The guy continues to call the bullies names and swear at them. So Tian and YY turn around and decide to leave as it looks like he's fine. After the guy is done yelling at his bullies, he turns around to thank Tian and YY, but they both have already left. The next day at the Q Tang University, Tian is beyond puzzled to see that the guy they helped before has started a Yongtian club for him and is hiring recruits for it. He says out loudly that even though some people in the world are awakened, most people are still mundane. But some awakened hunters try to bully the weaker people. He then says that Yin Yongtian plans on being their savior and help such mundane people be free from bullying of the awakened people, and that anyone who joins the club would be protected by Tian. No matter who the person is or how many people, Tian would protect them. He then talks about his story of the escape from bullies after Tian showed up. One of the other students thinks that this guy must be mad to be recruiting people at school. Another student says that when he heard that Tian was joining the Fang family, he thought it was ridiculous, but it turned out that he's an F tier too, so he asks how he could protect anyone. Another student agrees to this and says that an F tier must be good against normal people but not against more powerful hunters. Tian runs up to the guy and smashes the table and tears the whole thing down, asking how he could make a stall for him. Later, he tells the guy that he's trying to bring people into a group that follows a guy who he does not even know. He asks him what he was thinking and when he asked for a fanbase. The guy says that Tian's heroism the day before really moved him and so felt like he could make a difference to the world. Tian orders him to get out of here and not do anything like this again. In class, students talk about how Tian got tangled up with the guy who was bullied. Another student says that the guy is clingy and won't be shaken off easily. The student behind YY tells her that Tian is the talk of the town again. YY thinks about how she didn't think the club was that bad, but it turns out that Tian's actions can draw out the attention of Ronin with ulterior motives, so they would have to be careful. Since people began to awaken their abilities, those with powers have taken advantage over those without. Eventually, the government began to take control of those with these abilities and many were recruited into security forces. However, some still remain who try to take advantage of mundane people. Some evil people are even worse than them. They usually abide by the law by day, but in secret, they take pleasure in killing people. At some point, they organized and started calling themselves Ronin, and they are a great danger to society. In a small alley, two guys talk amongst themselves. One of them says that Tang University has someone who's acting super bold by saying that he wants to set up a group to protect mundane people. The other guy says that the guy must be trying to declare war on them and should be taught a lesson. The guys then see a man walk by. One guy says that his suit looks expensive, so he must be rich, and the other guy says that they should get to work. Soon, the man asks them to let go of him. He asks them to not kill him and says that he would give them anything they want. The guy says that he got it wrong because they're not here for his money. He says that they came to kill him for his money. They walk towards him, ready to attack him, but before they are able to do so, someone grabs both their heads and they're both shoved to the ground by their heads. The person asks the man if he is alright. He tries to think of who she is and the girl says that she's a guardian. Guardians are those dedicated to protecting mundane people from hunters. She drops her card to the ground and underneath her hood is YY. Tian is at home, thinking about the guy who made the club for him. He cannot believe such people exist. He wonders how that guy could be like that. Tian's thoughts are soon interrupted by a notification on his phone. Picking it up, he sees that it's a message from the same guy, He Jisheng. In the message, he apologizes for his actions and says that he wants to make it up to him. He says that he had a pass to an unknown dungeon, so he invites Tian to come with him and says that all the spoils will be his. Tian has no idea how this guy got his number, but he texts him a no anyways. He Jisheng texts Tian back and says that he should make some time for him as their friends. However, Tian simply asks him to piss off. As the Fang Elder leaves the building to get to his car, someone creeps up behind him with a weapon. He senses this and turns around to see Fang Chunni. He asks the elder how he could dare to protect Tian against his own orders and stabs him with a knife. Chunni leaves a card next to him before fleeing. The team cleaning up the crime scene informs Fang Daxang that a card was found next to the corpse. Daxang is surprised to see that the Ronins killed someone in their own parking lot. Later, Tian goes up to Liu Tian and asks him which dungeon they would be going to today. Lan Zimo is angry that Tian is here and Liu Tian is mad that they lost their rewards because of Tian. So, he tells him that there's a C-tier raiding party that lacks some logistics, so he recommends Tian to go with them. Tian joins them and the group soon reaches the dungeon through the portal. The system presents Tian with a task of destroying all the monsters in the dungeon. The reward for this would be a physical recovery skill. Suddenly, a monster shows up and the mages attempt to bind it. Within minutes, the monster is set on fire and killed. The task completion is now at 20%. Tian is amazed that the monster didn't even get close to the mages. Tian is told that the first wave is done, so the logistics guys need to pick up all the spoils and the rest of them would go ahead. Yet another monster erupts from the ground, but that too is killed by the mages. The task completion level reaches 59%. As Tian picks up all the crystals, he watches them battle the C-tier boss called Cthonian. They raise their hands and chant and send sparks to the skies. This lands right on the boss monster and electrocutes it and kills it. Tian watches in awe, thinking that the power of magicians is amazing. One of the mages tells the others that they should go home and then they can go shopping later. As Tian walks towards them, he spots two blue spikes in the ground. When it moves, he sees that it is actually another monster. Tian tells the group that he would kill it. One of the guys tells him to not bother, as that tortoise's defense is very high, and even a B tier or a tier master wouldn't be able to break its defense. He also mentions that last time, the Fang family had hired an S tier hunter to come kill it, but the magic crystals it dropped was only worth about 20 yuan, so it wasn't even worth the time and effort. A girl says that since it has a high defense and no offense, it's fine to leave it. She tells him it's more like an NPC and asks him to not to bother it. However, Tian doesn't believe that the tortoise is that tough, so he tries to attack it, which is when he realizes how powerful the tortoise is, as his hands hurt a lot. So the guy tells Tian that they should head back, but Tian says he wants to give it another go and asks them to go ahead without him. The rest of the party leaves while thinking what an idiot Tian is. Tian swings his sword many times at the tortoise in hopes of injuring it, but it doesn't work. Since this has no effect on it, Tian decides to calm down and think about what to do. He tries to think back to all the perfect techniques he saw. Remembering the technique that the elder had taught him, Tian manages to land a perfect strike on the tortoise. This technique seems to work, so Tian feels happy that he figured out a way to do it. He continues to do this until the sun sets. At first, he had thought that he would only need about 10 perfect strikes, but right now, he's on the 98th perfect strike. He tells himself to not rush and remember the best strike. This strike makes the turtle croak, and Tian has finally managed to injure it. The 99th perfect strike injures it further, and the 100th and final perfect strike allows him to slice off the head of the tortoise. Now that his task to destroy all the monsters in the dungeon has been successfully completed, Tian receives a physical recovery skill, which would enable him to immediately restore his stamina once per day. And because he completed a streak of 100 perfect strikes, he receives an ability called as the Adjudicator, using which he could upgrade any move to the perfect state and help break the upper limit of any skill. After Tian gained the title of Adjudicator, his power has increased quite a lot. In the next few weeks, he successfully defeated several low-tier dungeons and became even stronger. Tian thinks that the Fang family dungeons are not challenging anymore, and because he's still not qualified to enter a high-tier dungeon, he has no choice but to text Zhisheng. He wonders what tier the dungeon that he mentioned is, so Tian texts him and asks him when they can go to the dungeon that he mentioned before. Zhisheng immediately replies that they could go tomorrow. Nowadays, dungeons are like mineral deposits. Most of them are monopolized by the government or large groups, but dungeons constantly appear, so it's impossible to completely monopolize them, causing unrated dungeons to appear frequently. This kind of dungeon would have unstable output, and that's why the Fang family and other large groups are reluctant to claim it. Although the government did control it, they're not really exploiting it. This is what is called as an unclaimed dungeon. Anyone can enter this kind of dungeon as long as they have the entry permit. A lot of scattered cultivators that don't belong in the big family's drill group go to these dungeons to train. When Tian reaches the place, he meets Zhisheng, who greets him and introduces Tian to Sidu by saying that he is from the Fang family. He then introduces Sidu Yanyu to Tian and says that he swiped through a lot of huge unclaimed dungeons in a half-year time, so he's a star among cultivators. Sidu yells at Tian and asks him why he didn't come earlier, and made him wait for half a day. Tian shouts back that the meeting time was 9 o'clock and he arrived here on time. He asks Sidu if he's trying to pick a fight with him. Zhisheng whispers to Tian that Sidu has a bad temper and no patience, and asks Tian to bear with him because they would need to cooperate in the dungeon and it wouldn't be good to start a fight here. He then asks Tian to wait there so he could go take care of the procedure for entering the dungeon. So he goes up to the guards and says that it's been a while since he saw them. Tian thinks how this guy was able to get the permit to the unclaimed dungeon all by himself, and so one shouldn't always judge a book by its cover. Zhisheng shows them the 2 permits. The guard tells him that he is pretty resourceful, but after a closer look, he sees that it's a low-tier permit while the dungeon's tier is a bit higher. so he says that this isn't enough. Jisheng slyly asks him to let them enter as they're not strangers. The guard disagrees and Jisheng asks if they were pleased with the method he recommended last time. He also says that he has a better one this time and they would be able to gain more money easily with this one. The guards can't refuse this offer and give him permission, and Jisheng calls out to the group. The task that Tian receives for this dungeon is to eliminate all monsters, and the mission reward is unknown. The group then notices a couple of goblins. Tian thinks that there's so many of them that it's going to be troublesome. Sidhu uses his fingers and creates sparks, which soon sends an explosion towards the goblins and wipes them all out, and 30% of the mission is complete. Jisheng and the others admire how strong Sidhu is. To Tian, judging from the range in which Sidhu attacked, it is similar to the flame performed by the C-tier assault team, or it might be stronger than that. Sidhu says they should move forward and leads the way. Soon, the group reaches a dark room. With just a snap of his fingers, Sidhu creates a light source that brightens up the place. A bunch of goblins with weapons are headed their way. Tian strikes them all and kills them in no time at all. The other party members cheer that they're very lucky this time because Tian is also strong. But Sidhu disapproves of Tian's technique and says that this floor is already old. Using slash skill could break the support pillar and the house might have broken down. Tian asks if he's trying to teach him how to do things. Jisheng tries to calm them down by reminding them that the main priority is to eliminate the goblins. As they continue to walk, Tian spots a crack in the wall, so he asks Sidhu to provide light for him as he wants to see if there are any monsters remaining in there. Sidhu says that if Tian wants to waste time, he should just go by himself, and that people like him would never be able to beat the boss. Jisheng thinks how one of them has an OCD and the other is a tyrannical maniac, so it's hard to make them work together. Sidhu tells Jisheng that he could go with Tian if he wanted to, but the other two guys decide that even though Tian is strong, he dawdles a lot, so following Sidhu would be the best option. When they face another huge goblin, all Sidhu does is a slight movement with his fingers, and that's enough to set the goblin on fire and causes it to come crashing to the ground. Sidhu walks away and the others inform him that the goblin is still moving. Sidhu just tells them to kill it if they want to and not waste his time. Jisheng is with Tian. Tian tells him to go if he wants to and asks him not to follow him. Jisheng says that he's the one who asked him to come to this dungeon, so he couldn't leave him alone. Tian comes across a goblin, which he immediately slays. Sidhu and the others reach a giant door and think that this must be the boss room. Sidhu breaks the door down by using his powers to burn a hole through the wall. Inside the room is an armored monster sitting with a huge sword. The group wonders if this is also a goblin. Sidhu is battling the goblin boss. He sets the boss on fire, but it does nothing to him as he has on a fire resistance armor, due to which he is able to easily walk away from Sidhu's attacks. So, Sidhu decides that he would just raise the temperature of the attack instead. But when Sidhu does this, the goblin boss blocks his fire attack with ease. So Sidhu decides that the best tactic would be to overpower the boss with quantity. So he shoots fireballs at him continuously. This works and leaves the boss phase for a moment, and so Sidhu gets closer to him and places his hands on the boss's eyes and shoots fireballs. Soon, the boss is set on fire and falls to the floor. After the boss has been killed, the group receives many materials. Sidhu tells the other members to collect it quickly so they can go to the next dungeon. Later, when Tian meets up with them, Sidhu tells him that since he is so happy looking for scraps, he should go inside and take the leftover materials, which Sidhu would be glad to give him. Tian says nothing to this, and the rest of the group follows Sidhu to the next dungeon. They say that they feel at ease following Sidhu. Tian and Jisheng spot a great sword. Jisheng is surprised that no one wanted the sword and left it behind. The system alerts Tian that 100% of the task has been completed, but Tian decides to make sure that there are no secret passages. So he knocks on the wall and the system shows him that only 99% completion has been achieved. Within a few moments, the completion level drops to 98%. Jisheng calls Tian and asks him to look at something that is in front of him. Tian sees a huge creature holding the great sword in its hand. Tian immediately asks Jisheng to stay back and gets ready to fight the beast. The monster roars and Tian jumps up on it and gets close enough to its neck. Tian uses a sword wind release move to attack the beast. Within moments, the monster takes a tumble to the ground. Jisheng is in awe of the instant kill. The monster does not seem to be dead, so Tian says that something isn't right. The head of the monster glows brightly and it soon manages to get up and swing its sword around. Soon, the monster's head seems perfectly intact and there's no sign of injuries. Tian can't believe that it revived. Then, the beast runs towards Tian in order to attack. Although the boss can revive, it is very fragile and has a low movement speed. After a while, Tian manages to easily slay him multiple times. However, the boss keeps resurrecting. When Tian kills the boss for the 7th time, the light begins to disappear. Zhisheng says that after 7 times, the boss is finally dead. But Tian warns him that something is not right and tells him not to come here. Soon, the lights begin to gather together, and the boss revives into a tier boss called the Goblin Warrior. Tian and Zhisheng are shocked that the Goblin boss evolved. The Goblin Warrior swings its sword at Tian, which produces 3 blades of lights. Tian is stunned upon seeing this, and all of the lights do some damage, so Tian learns that it is not an illusion. As he scrambles to think of ways to fight the Goblin Warrior, it comes running at him while swinging its sword. Tian manages to run away from it, but not for long as his back hits a wall. The Goblin Warrior has him cornered and Tian thinks that he's going to die. But suddenly, the Goblin Warrior stops its advances, leaving Tian confused. He then notices Zhisheng using a shadow taunt skill to stall the boss for a while. Zhisheng tells Tian to think of something in the meantime. He then yells at the boss and runs away, leading him away from Tian. Tian is surprised that his skill is shadow taunt, and he noted that it was even enough to affect a tier boss, so that skill must be high tier. Even though Tian had killed the boss many times, it still prioritizes its attack on Zhisheng. Zhisheng's hate value was higher than his, but since it looks like Zhisheng only has shadow taunt skill, he may not be able to hold on for long. So, Tian decides to do something about it. He activates Adjudicator skill. This would enhance perception to the perfect state. This works perfectly as Tian is now able to see and know their movements even when his eyes are closed. He then yells at Zhisheng to stop taunting the boss and asks him to go hide. Tian faces the Goblin Warrior once again, but this time, he feels like he can sense and calculate the boss's moves. The Goblin Warrior uses a 5 lights chain slash, which Tian immediately perfectly copies. Using this, Tian successfully defeats the boss, who gets sliced into pieces. Tian then says that his sword technique is more perfect than the Goblin Warrior. The mission progress finally reaches 100%, and as a reward, Tian receives an ability called the Substitute Puppet. This would allow him to withstand 9 fatal injuries and increase his speed for 5 minutes. However, it would be weakened once time passes and he would be paralyzed for 24 hours. After leaving the dungeon, Sidhu felt dissatisfied and immediately led the team into another unknown dungeon. The team is currently in the Arctic permafrost. Led by Sidhu, the group walk around when they spot a giant bird hovering above them. It is a B-tier boss named the Ice and Snow Bird. The group members are glad that this is the boss. One of them says that Sidhu's fire element can easily restrain the bird's snow element, so this would be their win again. With a few simple hand gestures, Sidhu shoots fire attacks towards the bird, but it immediately flies away and escapes. Sidhu notes that the bird is very agile, so he decides to overwhelm it with quantity like he did previously in the other dungeon. He shoots fireballs at it continuously, hoping to bring the bird down. However, it ends up falling on his group members as the flames are being blown back by the bird. Sidhu wonders if the bird boss has an ice and wind dual attribute, so he conjures up a giant fire attack and flings it towards the bird. But the bird sends down a shower of ice spikes down on it and puts out the fire, and the remnants fall on the team again. Sidhu is frustrated that the flames are not able to melt the ice spikes. Sidhu realizes that he is restrained by the bird's attributes. The others run for cover and say that Sidhu is troublesome. At that moment, the bird flies right above them and drops more ice spikes, blocking their way. They try to come up with a plan to escape and Sidhu creates an opening for them by melting the spikes with his flames. They thank him for his help and before they run away, they ask if he is not coming with them too. Sidhu tells them to not underestimate him and stop the nonsense and leave. Soon, the bird attacks Sidhu again with its ice crystals. Sidhu raises his hand and tries to melt the spikes with the flame attack. Meanwhile, Zhisheng and Tian walk out of the dungeon with the rewards. Zhisheng is overjoyed that he earned so much today. Tian tells Zhisheng that he would give him his share after he changes it to money. He also says that they would split it equally. They both then spot Sidhu, followed by their team members with burns and frostbites. Zhisheng asks Sidhu what happened to him and what boss made him so embarrassed. The other members say that the boss was too strong and had both ice and wind attributes and that Sidhu was restrained. Feeling intrigued, Zhisheng asks him what the boss looked like. Sidhu tells him to not ask what he is not supposed to ask. And since Zhisheng just came out of the dungeon, Sidhu tells him that he shouldn't have followed someone like Tian in spite of him telling him that it would be a waste of time. Zhisheng tells Sidhu that it is not true and that he never actually killed the boss. He explains to Sidhu that the goblin boss had 9 lives and kept resurrecting until it became an A-tier boss, which they both defeated after a lot of effort. He then shows him the rewards that they were granted. Tian tells Sidhu that his impatient personality is not a good thing and that it is better to be as steady as he is. He also says that he is the one that beat the boss and it is Sidhu that is wasting his time. This angers Sidhu and Tian tells Zhisheng that they should get going. Before leaving, Zhisheng tells Sidhu that would be all for today and that they would work together next time. Sidhu feels disappointed that even when just encountering a boss and not even defeating it, he could not protect his team members. He feels ashamed that his own attacks hit them. He then thinks to himself that maybe it is time to end the team just like his father had said. At home, Tian is checking out the reward he was granted for defeating the A-tier boss, the stand-in puppet. He thinks about how before this, he had received the ability to fully recover his strength daily and now, he could say that he has 9 lives with full physical strength. Tian's phone beeps with a message. He opens it to see that it is a message from Fang Quanshui. She says that the training group would be holding a competition tomorrow for new members to select talents who could enter C-rank dungeons and above. She also mentions that Tian has to come tomorrow for the competition. The next morning, at the arena of the Fang family, it is announced that the annual audition has started again, and that today would be the day where recruits would get to see whether they get the chance to enter high-tier dungeons or not. Fang Daxing sits on a throne with Fang Chunyi and Quanshui beside him. The announcer then says that the group selection has ended and those who are in the top 8 will get a new spot. He also says that there are 112 applicants this year, so there would be many exciting performances to look forward to. Everyone in the crowd cheers out of excitement. Quanshui asks Tian if he is confident enough. He replies by saying that he is not familiar with others as Chunyi watches them intently. 2 recruits have an intense fire and ice battle. Soon, it is Tian's turn to fight. His opponent is Yang Yang, who is a subordinate of Coach Fang Dun. The announcer says that one is a high-profile F-tier rookie, and the other was in 9th place during the previous year, so they would wait and see the result of the battle between them both. Yang Yang says to Tian that he was 1 place short of entering the advanced rating team last year as only 8 members would be chosen. So, he says that this year, he has to be promoted. As soon as the announcer tells them to start, Yang Yang charges at Tian. However, Tian uses Ferocious Tiger Punch on him. This causes Yang Yang to fly back and hit himself against the wall. The announcer says that last year's 9th place has been defeated in seconds and so, the winner is Yin Yongtian. Seeing this, Fang Daxang tells Quanshui that the rumors are true and that she really found a treasure. At the end of round 2, Yang Yang is once again beaten by Tian. By the end of round 3, Yang Yang asks Tian for mercy. Soon, this year's top 8 candidates are selected and congratulated and Tian is one of them. Standing next to him are Lan Zimo and Liu Tian. Tian tells them that he did not expect them to be here too. Lin Ting tells Tian that he underestimated him before he watched his battle. Then, the announcer says that these 8 candidates can now enter C-tier, or higher rating teams, but the battle isn't over yet. There are 7 more games left to decide the champion. The champion would receive rare props that would be presented personally by the owner. Fang Daxing says that to spice up the fight, several special weapons and props would be offered. The players would be free to choose a weapon according to their own characteristics. He then says that he hopes that they would contribute to an exciting duel. So, a half-an-hour break is given for the players to pick their weapons. Fang Chunyi uses this time to instruct Liu Tian, Lan Zimo and Lin Ting to kill Tian no matter what weapon they use. He also says that he would arrange to get them the best weapons. Lan Zimo says that Tian is incredibly strong and this would be difficult to execute in public. Chunyi says that he has already made arrangements. Since Tian's favorite weapon is a long sword, Chunyi has already smeared weakening poisons on all of the sword handles provided. He then says to his team that after Tian touches it, the poison will begin to work and then they must wait for him to weaken and then pretend to kill him by mistake. So then, this would definitely prove that they are innocent. Lin Ting says that if Tian is strong enough, he would naturally meet him in the finals and then he would deal with him himself and not use methods like poisoning, which is easy to notice. Fang Chunyi says that the post-match autopsy is under him so no one would figure it out. He then asks Lin Ting if he is doubting him. Lin Ting replies that he would not dare to do such a thing. After the break, the competition begins again. The announcer invites the players to come and choose their weapons by hand. Tian walks up to the swords and can't help thinking that the decoration of these swords are too much. Even the hilt and gauntlet are asymmetrical and none of them seem to be as good as his own sword. So Tian walks away from there without picking any weapon. The announcer says that he is very confident to do so. Fang Daxian says that Tian has a lot of personality and Fang Quanshui tells him that Tian has obsessive-compulsive disorder, and that maybe the weapons are not to his taste. Fang Chunyi is disappointed that Tian did not pick any weapon. The very first step in his plan has gone wrong. But then, he thinks that this does not matter because as an assassin, Lin Ting has stealth skills and it is easy for him to stab at close range. He thinks that even if Tian had managed to dodge his first attempt, the ending would still be the same. The first round of the duel begins and it is between Lan Zimo and Tian. She is worried that Tian is using his own sword. The host announces that the battle has begun, but Lan Zimo immediately raises her hand and says that she abstains. The host is surprised to hear this, so she says that she has made it to the top 8, so she has qualified for the admission to the high-tier dungeons, so there would be no need to battle anymore. The other recruits get angry after hearing this and protest that she should go away and not take up a spot if she does not want to battle. Fang Chunyi thinks what a coward Lan Zimo is, so Tian wins the first round and the second round begins. It takes place between Lin Ting and He Yuan. Lin Ting wins the battle. A few more rounds later, the finals take place. This is between Lin Ting and Tian. The host says that this is going to be a fierce battle which leads to cheers and excitement from the crowd. Fang Daxang says that things have gotten interesting as Tian is from Quanshui and Lin Ting is from Chunyi, and they're both the ones meeting in the finals. So, Daxang looks forward to the results. Fang Chunyi and Quanshui watch on keenly too. Soon, the duel starts and immediately, Tian and Lin Ting clash their swords. They each try to push the other off until they both stumble backwards. Tian then slashes his sword which emits 3 blades of light. This shocks Lin Ting. Suddenly, Lin Ting has disappeared and Tian is beyond confused. Fang Quanshui realizes that Lin Ting has used stealth to hide himself. Tian looks around him, trying to figure out where his opponent is. Suddenly, he senses a presence near him and holds his sword in front of him. This works effectively to block Lin Ting's attack. Lin Ting is surprised that Tian was able to do so. He thinks how if Tian had not blocked him, he would have been able to cut through his abdomen. He wonders if Tian can see him, so he decides to test it out just to make sure. He places his sword in front of Tian's chest, but there are no reactions from him, so he realizes that he cannot see him. So he goes to attack him with the sword. However, Tian senses it and dodges it and attacks back by swinging his own sword. So Lin Ting realizes that Tian would be able to see him as long as he attacks him. Tian has already raised his perception to perfection, but Lin Ting adds more speed to throw off Tian. Tian is unable to keep up with Lin Ting's movements. Fang Chunyi watches this smugly and thinks that the first attack of the dagger has already cut him, and the more he moved, the quicker the dagger would take effect. Soon, Tian is marked with cuts and bruises and he still cannot keep up with the speed. Suddenly, he drops down to his knees. Lin Ting then reveals himself. He has stabbed Tian with his dagger. Fang Quanshui watches in horror and Lin Ting is announced as the winner. He says to Tian that it is fun to kill people. Now that Tian can see him, he grabs hold of his shirt and says that he caught him. He then throws a strong punch to his face and Lin Ting takes a tumble. Then, Tian uses the stand and puppet ability which would help him resist a fatal wound and instantly restore 15% of his HP. Upon using this, Tian's wound immediately starts to disappear and heal. Because of Tian's perfect punch, Lin Ting has been knocked out completely. The host says that Tian's chest was penetrated and he was still able to successfully counterattack and used his healing skill as a last resort. He then announces that the winner of the final duel is Yin Yongtian. The crowd erupts into cheers and even Fang Daxang says that it was very good and that Tian used a very smart battle tactic. He then notices the dagger on the floor. He recognizes it as the bloodthirsty dagger. Due to its overly violent nature, it should not have been one among the provided weapons. Tian's chest was penetrated by this dagger and even if he had healed, he should not have been able to bounce back like that. So he thinks that it's not just Tian's abilities that cannot be tested, but that he also has other secrets. Tian was able to defeat a B-grade assassin while using an A-tier weapon, so Daxang is afraid that his real abilities are not beneath Chunyi. The champion is then asked to come up and receive the prize from the master. Tian is congratulated by Fang Daxang, who says that a talented person like him has come from the Zhongshan generation. He also says that Tian is very good and it is no wonder that Quanshui has always admired him. Tian tells Fang Daxang that he is too kind. Daxang then says that since Tian uses a sword, he would give him a sword as a prize. He presents him with a sword and says that it is called the Last Clouds of Kantong. In his mind, Tian thinks that is not right. Tian thanks Daxang for it and says that he does not need the sword. Fang Quanshui tells Tian to not be disrespectful and hurry up and accept it. But Tian refuses it yet again. Fang Chunyi yells at Tian, asking him how he could dare to refuse something that the master had given him. Fang Daxang says that it is okay and asks Tian what he wants since he doesn't seem to like the sword much. He begins to say that he does not want anything but he drops to the floor. When Tian wakes up, he is at the hospital. A nurse comes up to him and asks him if he woke up already. Tian tries to think of what happened, so she tells him that when he lost consciousness, his heartbeat was irregular, and he was sweating profusely, so she did not expect him to wake up so fast. She also says that those with abilities are quite strange. She then asks him to wait because she is going to call the master. Tian thinks that losing consciousness must have been because of the side effects of the stand-in puppet. He also realizes that he is in the Fang family's medical center. The skills description had said that he would be paralyzed for 24 hours, so Tian wonders how long it has been. Since he also has a body recovering skill that he received after defeating the turtle, he is sure that he would be able to get up immediately. Fang Daxang shows up with Chunyi and Quan Shui and asks Tian how he is doing. Tian says that it is nothing and that he can go home soon. Daxang tells him that he is very healthy because even though he was stabbed by that dagger, he only had to rest for half a day. If it was anybody else, a mere touch from the dagger would make them require a month of rest. In his mind, Daxang thinks that winning Tian over would be worth it. He also tells Tian that he has a good feeling about him and his abilities, and that his willingness to follow Quan Shui is also fortunate. He then says to Tian that since he did not like the sword that he gave him, he could ask him for anything and it would be granted. He then says that he and Chunyi would leave as they have a lot of business to take care of and that Quan Shui would keep him company. But Chunyi just stands there and doesn't move. So Daxang asks him if he doesn't have things to do. Chunyi does not reply, so Daxang says that he would give him a task since he has nothing to do. He says that the dagger that Lin Ting used in the competition was not provided by them. And since he is his person, Daxang asks him to investigate it. Chunyi looks at him in anger while Tian thinks that Fang Chunyi was the one to give the dagger to Lin Ting. Fang Chunyi leaves the room angrily. He thinks how all these years he has been conscientiously helping the Fang family and the union and recruiting talent. Everyone in the family has heartfelt admiration towards him, so he thinks why Daxang is not pleased with him. Years ago, when Chunyi was a kid, Daxang had adopted him because the Fang family did not have a son. He raised Chunyi as an heir, so he wonders why he is aiding Quan Shui now. Chunyi had thought the family would be his sooner or later and Quan Shui would be his as well. Everything had changed ever since Tian had showed up. He thinks that the situation has changed, so he would need to contact his own family. At the Fang family villa, Fang Chunyi is sitting by himself with a drink. A voice asks him why he is contacting them. Fang Chunyi lets the person know that there is no security camera here, so he could come out as there is no reason to hide. A guy comes and sits beside him. He reminds Fang Chunyi that he had said that he would soon become the head of the Fang family, so he asks him how the progress is going. Fang Chunyi tells him that a problem has arisen because he thinks that Fang Daxang may be suspicious of him. He continues to say that Daxang has begun to foster Fang Quan Shui's power, so Chunyi thinks that Daxang wants to hand over the position to her. He says that he even tried to get rid of the people under her a few times but was quite unsuccessful, so it would not be possible to peacefully succeed as the head. So the guy replies that while he is still the #1 successor, he should go and kill Fang Daxang. Fang Chunyi says that he needs to help him do so, because even though Fang Daxang is old, his skills and abilities are still there. The dangers of directly killing Fang Daxang are far too great, so he would need the Cayenne family to set something up. So the guy asks him what his plan is, and Fang Chunyi says that the key piece of the puzzle would be Fang Quan Shui. He also says that he needs the Cayenne family to send some highly skilled people to kidnap Fang Quan Shui, and then they would send out a message saying that she is held captive in an unclaimed underground city. There are a lot of unclaimed underground cities, and Fang Daxang would send everyone from the Fang family to look for her as she is his only child. There is also a high chance that he would personally go and look for her. And no matter what happens, they could use this chance to split up contact between Fang Daxang and his skilled fighters, so they could then lure him to the place that they set up and kill him. Chunyi also says that kidnapping Fang Quan Shui would be their safety net. But if Fang Daxang really is unbeatable and somehow manages to escape, the plan is to just kill Fang Quan Shui. And even if Fang Daxang wanted to change the successor, there would be nobody else to take over, so he would have no choice but to pass the position to him. The guy then says that he would and go inform the master immediately, and that they would execute the plan tonight. Fang Chunyi says that there would be no rush, and if the plan is executed too directly, it would easily cause a mishap between the two families. He then says that he has already thought of who to blame for it. At the Fang family building, a meeting is underway. Fang Daxang says that as everyone already knows, the bidding reports that they submitted were all unsuccessful, and that they were all stolen by the Cayenne family. He then asks if anyone has any other thoughts to discuss regarding this matter. Everyone, including Quan Shui and Chunyi, just look down and keep quiet, without saying a word. The executive director, Fang Huan, yells that there is nothing to discuss as the strategic reports that they submitted were rejected, and it was only because the Cayenne family submitted theirs a few hours before the Fang family could. She then says that it could have been a coincidence the first few times, but it has been like this for the past couple of months. So their internal documents must have been leaked. So she angrily says that there must be a traitor among them. Fang Daxang says that he thinks so too, and then asks Fang Chunyi what he thinks about all of this. Fang Chunyi says that he also thinks that there is a traitor among them, but what is important is to examine which underground city was stolen by the Cayenne family and figure out a timeline, and that way they could figure out when the traitor appeared and also determine the scope of who the traitor may be. Fang Daxang says that is also what he is thinking, because based on the investigations, the leak of secret internal documents happened around half a month ago. During this time, all of their bids were the same as the Cayenne family. So Fang Huan says that they must separate and investigate everyone who joined the Fang family during that time. So Fang Daxang asks Fang Quanshui if Tian had entered the family half a month ago. She says that he did, but he is only an F tier, so he does not have the authority to access those documents. She also mentions how these days he only comes to raid the underground cities on weekends, and then after the raid is finished, he would leave, so it is not possible. Fang Huan yells at Fang Quanshui to not shelter Tian just because Tian is under her. Fang Daxang orders them to stop the discussion and then says that this issue will be dealt with according to the rules, and Tian would not be excluded from it. So Fang Quanshui has no choice but to agree to it. Fang Daxang then instructs the members of the family to withdraw the training and mission qualifications of all the new people of the past 2 months, and then rule them out one by one. After the meeting is over, Fang Chunyi tells Quanshui that she should not be disappointed because she may know a person but not their heart, and so she would not know what kind of person Tian really is. He then tells her to wait for the results of the investigation and asks her not to worry about it. He also says that even though Tian says he has OCD, he is just faking it, and he is pretending to be cold just to knock her confidence down so that he could approach her. He also says that Tian hangs out with women all the time and his personal life is very messy. Fang Quanshui then says that he must be talking about YY, who is just his childhood best friend. She also says that Ben has already reported that the interactions between Tian and YY are quite refrained. Fang Chunyi says that YY goes to Tian's house and nobody knows what a single man and woman do at home. To this, Fang Quanshui tells Fang Chunyi that not everyone is like him. She says that she knows about the things that go on between him and the female hunters under him. She then advises him to be careful, as Fang Daxang could easily handle his personal life matters. After saying this, she walks away. Quanshui goes straight to Tian's house and waits outside his door and nervously thinks that she actually came here. Fang Quanshui knocks on Tian's door and then asks herself what she is doing here. She then tries to tell herself that she just came here to inform him of the company's resolution in person and not to confirm anything. She then hears panting sounds from inside the house, so she puts her ear to the door and wonders what the noise is. After listening to the noises again, Fang Quanshui gets suspicious and thinks that maybe what Fang Chunyi said must be true. So she bangs on the door and asks Tian to open it immediately. But YY is the one that opens the door and Fang Quanshui is surprised to see her. Tian then walks towards the door, shirtless, and asks YY who is at the door. He then notices Fang Quanshui and asks her what she is doing here. Fang Quanshui cannot believe what she is seeing, and neither can Ben. She then assumes that Fang Chunyi must be right, as Tian has no clothes on right now. YY says that she does not know why they are here but still asks them both to come in. But before Fang Quanshui can even enter, Tian shouts at her to stop and take off her shoes first, as they both just did a major cleanup. Fang Quanshui then says that she feels relieved that they both were just cleaning the floors, and Tian asks her what she means. After Ben and Fang Quanshui enter, Tian apologizes to them, as this is just a single apartment and there are no extra stools, so if they have anything to say to him, they would have to talk while standing. Ben says that is rude and that Tian should at least let Fang Quanshui sit on his bed. Tian says that there is no way he could allow that because he had just cleaned the room. Ben begins to shout at him again, but Fang Quanshui stops him and says that it is okay as they won't be staying here for long. She then tells Tian that there is a rumor that the Fang family has a mole, and because of this, the family is investigating him, and so he would not be able to go to the group practice for now. YY gets mad after hearing this because all this time, she had been asking Tian if he has entered the Fang family and he had never been honest with her. Tian replies that he did not tell her because he thought that she would be worried. Then, Fang Quanshui tells Tian to not worry about this, as he would be allowed to train again after the suspicion has gone down. Tian says that this does not matter to him because he did not want to join them anyway. so he would just take this opportunity to quit. Fang Quanshui says to Tian that he is already one of her people, so he would legally not be allowed to leave. YY grabs Tian's arm and tells Fang Quanshui that Tian does not belong to him and that she should not be sentimental. Fang Quanshui asks YY if she does not know about the regiment policy according to which Tian is hers now. Then YY shouts back at her to let go of him. After Quanshui leaves from the apartment, she thinks about how YY had said that even if she begs Tian, he wouldn't come back. Fang Quanshui angrily tells Ben that YY does not even know that the training group is dependent on relations with people. Ben suddenly stops and says that something is wrong because even if there are no passerbys on the street, there should be undercover guards who are supposed to follow them, but there is no one. He then stands protectively in front of her only for someone to crush him and smack him into the ground. Fang Quanshui runs to Ben to see if he is okay, and a voice tells her that she should not get close to him as they don't want to crush her too. She turns around to see who said that, but before she can, she falls unconscious, and a hooded figure catches her. He then tells another hooded person that the mission is complete and asks him to take Fang Quanshui to the unclaimed dungeon. At the Fang family building, Fang Daxang sits in front of his computer when suddenly, the screen begins to glitch. Noticing the distorted display, he wonders if the screen is broken. But suddenly, the face of a masked man pops up on the screen. He lets Fang Daxang know that they have his daughter, Fang Quanshui, with them. He also informs him that he would have to hand over 300 million if he wanted his daughter to be safe. He concludes by saying that he should not try any tricks as they would kill her right away if anything goes wrong. Out of fury, Fang Daxang punches at him through the computer screen. To him, anyone that kidnaps his daughter is seeking death. Meanwhile, the same video clip was synced on every single screen in the Fang family's household. In no time, the news of Fang Quanshui being abducted spread within the Fang family. Several people who are under the Fang family gather at the building. They tell each other that it has been a while since they all got together like this. Soon, Fang Daxang shows up too. He tells them all that since Fang Quanshui has been taken hostage, they must do everything they possibly can to find out who the culprit is and rescue her. The members agree and say that they understand. Fang Daxang then spots Lan Ziyu, who is the elder sister of Lan Zimo, in the crowd. Since she is capable of mind reading, he asks her to try and read their location through the video. She says that she did try it but to no avail. Normally, she would be able to detect the location from any object within the picture. Even if it was just a pinch of sand, she would be able to nail the desert where it lies. But for some reason, she is not able to do that now. Fang Daxang asks her if she means that the background in the video is fake, which means that there is no such place in the universe. Lan Ziyu says that it could also be a place that lies beyond the universe. Upon hearing this, Fang Daxang yells in a booming voice, asking if she could be in a dungeon. He grabs a hold of Lan Ziyu and asks her which dungeon it is and which family commands it. She mutters that she can't read that either. Fang Chunyi tells Fang Daxang that in this case, they could only rely on the strength of manpower. Daxang asks him what he means, to which Fang Chunyi says that they should send as many people as possible to search in the unclaimed dungeons. And if they could not find her in any of those dungeons, chances are that she could be trapped in one of the other 3 families' dungeons. Fang Daxang agrees to Fang Chunyi's plan and orders everyone to go find that dungeon immediately. Daxang and Chunyi go to check up on Ben, who is in the hospital. Ben apologizes to Daxang for not being able to protect Quanshui. Fang Daxang tells Ben that he has sent a search party to rescue her, but the search area needs to be further reduced, and they could only do this by identifying the culprits. So he asks Ben to try illustrating what actually happened so they could try to pick clues from it. Ben tells them about how that night they left Tian's place, and having detected nobody on the streets, he carried on escorting her. But suddenly, a force of gravity crashed from above, causing him to lose consciousness. Daxang is surprised to hear about the force of gravity. He tells his assistant to check the list of hunters registered with the government and give him their names. Fang Chunyi asks Ben if he said that Fang Quanshui was abducted after returning from Tian's place. Ben says that is right and that they went because Quanshui wanted to discuss the investigation of the traitors with Tian herself. YY sits on a swing in a park by herself. 2 men show up out of nowhere and ask her if she is Yin Yongtian's friend. They say to her that they are looking for him, but there is no one at his house, so they ask her if she knows where he is. YY says that she has no idea about that either. The men look at each other and ask her if they could take her with them instead. Fang Quanshui is still tied up and sits surrounded by the group of guys. One of them is frustrated that Fang Daxang has not showed up yet as his feet are freezing. Another guy tells him to bear with it as this will be a huge feat once they succeed. Listening to all this, Fang Quanshui wonders if they're actually aiming for her dad. Tian is at the Arctic permafrost. He then sees Sidhu in front of him and says that he would not even have come if he had known that he would be here too. Sidhu thinks to himself that he would definitely prove his worth this time no matter what. Tian and Sidhu, along with Zhisheng, walk in the snow of the Arctic permafrost when they come across a couple of polar bear beasts. Because Sidhu has already been here before, Zhisheng asks Sidhu how these beasts hold up. Sidhu says that they are merely minions and that the boss is the real deal. Saying this, he throws flames at the polar bear beasts. Fang Quanshui is still in the dungeon. Her captors hear some sounds outside the cave and wonder if there are people out there. One of them gets up and says that he would go and take a look, and the other asks him to be careful and not get noticed by anyone. After the beasts have been defeated, Zhisheng appreciates Sidhu and says that it was amazing. Sidhu says that now that the beasts have been cleared, the boss will wait for them at the other side of the forest. Tian asks him if he is sure that he has killed every single beast here. Sidhu angrily says that he even burned down every single tree, and asks him what more he wants him to do. As the three of them continue to walk ahead, Zhisheng tells Sidhu that they need to come up with a good plan to avoid defeat from the boss. So he asks Sidhu to tell him about the boss's appearance and skills so they could plan specific strategies to counter its abilities. Sidhu explains that it is a snow falcon, and apart from its absurd agility, it is also capable of generating air blasts, which can counter his flames by flapping its wings. He also says that it even has the ability to bombard them with frozen crystals. Sidhu would not be able to melt the ice completely with his flame because the falcon's attacks consist of a fusion between two different elements. Zhisheng thinks to himself how it's always been thought that fire is the best counter to ice, but wind could be a good counter as well. So he asks Tian if he is skilled in the wind element. Tian says that sword wind is all that he is capable of, and Zhisheng says that they would manage with that. So Zhisheng huddles with them and explains to them how while Sidhu's flame might be put off by the snow falcon's air blasts, a suitable amount of wind would fuel it further instead. So he tells them both to cooperate with each other. Tian's sword wind would raise the temperature of Sidhu's flame and help to melt the ice crystals. Besides that, the sword wind would be able to counter the air blasts and prevent the flame from being blown back to them. Tian says that as true as even a campfire can be reignited when it is blown at. So Sidhu agrees to try out and execute this plan. Tian compliments Zhisheng and says that his planning was impressive. Zhisheng says that he might not look like it, but he is actually quite devoted to war histories, so the strategizing could be left to him. Sidhu then tells them to stop bluffing around as the boss is here. Tian gets ready with his sword wind and Sidhu prepares the flames. Zhisheng tells them that since it is their first time cooperating, it would be better to test things out first with some lesser scaled skills. So Tian and Sidhu go ahead and put their skills combo to the test. The winds swirl around the flames, and when it hits the falcon's wing, it succeburns a portion of its wings away. The snow falcon then drops ice crystals on them. However, Sidhu and Tian work together to cause a wind and flame tornado to keep the ice crystals away. In no time, the falcon finds itself caught in the midst of it and the whole thing explodes. Fang Quanshui's abductor watches this explosion from where he is standing. He tells himself that it must be just some random raid team and that they would just leave after they defeat the boss. Tian, Sidhu and Zhisheng leave after the boss has been killed. Tian then senses that something is off and asks them if there is a humanoid beast in the dungeon too. The abductor returns back inside the cave and the others ask him what is going on out there and if Fang Daxang has come. He tells them that it is just a random raid team who have already left. The other guy says that it seems like they can't block people from entering an unclaimed dungeon after all, but it should not be a problem as long as they do not try to mess with them. Fang Quanshui nervously asks them if Daxang is not here yet. Sidhu asks Tian what he means by a humanoid beast because all the beasts in this dungeon are in the form of an animal. So Tian says that it is weird that there are footprints in the snow that look like they belong to a human. So they go to take a closer look at it and Zhisheng says that it is a human footprint, and considering the size of the footprint, it looks to be a male's. They then see that the footprints lead in the opposite direction. So Tian suggests that they should explore a bit more as they can't eliminate the possibility of there being a humanoid beast in this dungeon, and Sidhu also agrees to this. At the Fang family building, the two men have brought YY to Fang Daxang. He immediately asks her to tell him where Tian is since she is his friend. YY says that all along she has been saying that has no idea. The men accuse her of covering up for Tian and say that she is his comrade. They also ask her to tell them where Fang Quanshui is, because she won't say anything. Fang Daxang informs her that they have hunters who could uncover her memories if she is unwilling to tell them anything. He also adds that having her mind read would not be a great experience. YY tries to defend herself by saying that they are all going against the law. Fang Daxang says that he is the law here, He asks her to spill everything that she knows if she wants to get out of here safely. Fang Chunyi interrupts them by saying that they have made progress. Fang Daxing immediately asks him to tell him all about it. Fang Chunyi says that the intelligence department has discovered clues from the blackmail video. He shows him a speck of snow that can be seen in the video. He also says that there was mist around their mouths as they spoke, which means that the dungeon is freezing cold. Daxang asks how many such dungeons are there and orders for this to be investigated immediately. However, Chunyi says that the investigation has already been done and that the Arctic permafrost is the sole possibility amongst the unclaimed dungeons. So, Fang Daxang orders the girl to inform everyone who is out searching to head to the Arctic permafrost as soon as possible, and then tells Chunyi that they should leave too and starts to run. When asked what should be done about YY, Daxang tells him that he should watch her carefully and not allow her to escape. The three of them stumble upon the cave that the footprints lead up to. Sidhu says that they should go check out the inside of the cave, but Yisheng says that they better not rush because if the person was in the dungeon all along, and they did not show up when they were defeating the boss, then they are definitely not here to kill the beasts. So he says to them that they should just wait and see what they are really up to. However, Sidhu and Tian convince him that they should head into the cave, much to Yisheng's disappointment. Tian notices the jagged, unsymmetrical walls of the cave and says that he hates stalactite caves so much. He also says that nature is a terrible crafter. Upon hearing his voice, the abductors realize that someone is here. Sidhu also screams into the cave, asking if there is anyone in there. They soon hear the muffled noises that Fang Quanshui makes, so the three of them run towards the place of the noise and find Fang Quanshui all tied up. Tian asks her why she is here while the captors watch him quietly while hiding in the shadows. Tian runs up to Quanshui and asks her if she is alright. She shakes her head violently and tries to tell him to not come near her. Tian realizes that she is shaking her head, which means she is asking to stay away. Suddenly, he is unable to move forward and then notices a strange opening in front of him. While Tian is trying to figure out what it is, he senses something behind him. So he lets Sidhu know about it and Sidhu immediately takes care of it. One of the captors says that Tian is quite perceptive, so there is no point of going invisible anymore. While Tian is fighting off one of them, another one appears behind him with a dagger. Yisheng says that they have really gotten themselves into trouble with hidden assassins. Sidhu says that they should go and give Tian a hand and help him. The two assassins surround Tian and try to stab him with the dagger, but Tian keeps dodging them until Sidhu shows up and kicks them both away. He then uses his flame skill to kill them, but they have made themselves invisible once again. Sidhu then notices Tian trying to fight off another assassin with his sword, so he decides to help him, and after asking Tian to watch out, he throws flames at the assassin while Tian ducks. However, the assassin manages to escape in time. Sidhu then says that he would get him and runs after him. Tian pulls him back in time just before he reaches the opening. One of the assassins then mockingly applauds Tian for being so perceptive. He also compliments Sidhu for his skills while using his full name to address him. So Sidhu asks him how he knows his full name. Tian is also confused as he thought his surname was Si. The assassin replies that everyone knows the eldest young master of the Sidhu family. He also says that they were only aiming for the Fang family, but now the Sidhu family's heir has jumped into the trap by himself too. He says that he is gonna capture them too and makes his way towards Sidhu and Tian with daggers in his hands, followed by the other assassins. Sidhu says that they would not be able to kill him even in their dreams. Fang Daxang and Fang Chunyi soon reach the entrance of the unclaimed dungeon. The rest of the troops get there too and say that they rushed here after being notified and that the others are right behind them as well. Fang Daxang tells Fang Chunyi that they should not waste time. Then, he enters the unclaimed dungeon. While Daxang is in the dungeon, Chunyi crushes an object between his fingers and enters the dungeon as well. The troops try to enter next, but they are unable to do so because the seal has been re-established. They wonder if they are playing into someone's hands. Fang Daxang and Fang Chunyi are soon in the Arctic permafrost. They also notice the footprints in front of them. Fang Daxang asks Chunyi where the others are. Chunyi turns around and asks if he should go take a look, but Fang Daxang says that they should just go ahead. When they get close to the entrance of the cave, Fang Daxang notices that the footprints become stacked here. So he tosses his blazer aside and tells Chunyi they should head in because they would definitely be inside. Fang Chunyi warns him to not act recklessly as there are criminals inside. He also says that he might end up startling the criminals by walking right into their base, after which they might end up killing Quanshui. Fang Daxang tells him that he could not be more wrong about that, as he is not here to rescue Fang Quanshui. He is just here to kill the criminals. Fang Chunyi finds it strange and wonders if Daxang does not care about Quanshui's safety at all. Meanwhile, Tian and Sidu are still battling the assassins while Zhisheng hides behind a wall in the cave, thinking that he should escape soon as things are not looking good. Suddenly, one of them yells that Fang Daxang is here and asks everyone to retreat, so the assassins go back into hiding by turning themselves invisible. Daxang races through the cave while punching everything in his way. He soon reaches the place and sees that Fang Quanshui is being held hostage with Tian and Sidu standing in front of her. Tian and Sidu are both surprised to see him. Fang Daxang says to Tian that he did not expect to see him here. Chunyi says that it was Tian who took Fang Quanshui hostage, and Tian asks him what he is talking about. Fang Chunyi then tells Quanshui to not be afraid as they are here to rescue her. She shakes her head to tell him that he has got it all wrong. Sidu also tries to tell them that it must all be a misunderstanding. He explains to him that they just met her here and that they are not her abductors. Fang Daxang then asks him if he is the brat from the Sidu family. He then asks him if the Sidu family is involved in this as well. Sidu tells him that is not the case and asks him to listen to him. However, Fang Daxang activates S-tier physical strengthening and charges at Tian and Sidu. They both try to dodge his attack. Sidu throws flames at Fang Daxang after asking Tian to dodge it. Daxang lands a punch at Tian through the flames, which makes Tian's sword to break off into pieces. Tian falls back and Sidu asks him to quickly use Sword Wind. Tian first uses up the defensive gloves, which would enable him to nullify the damage from a single physical attack. Then, just like they did before, Tian and Sidu use a combination of flames and sword wind to create a tornado, which manages to trap Fang Daxang in it. Fang Quanshui watches this with fear but thinks that he should be alright. Suddenly, Daxang sticks his hands out of it and grabs Sidu and Tian by their throats. He closes in on them to punch them but spits blood instead. Quanshui watches this and wonders if his illness is striking again. However, Chunyi watches everything in satisfaction. As Tian and Sidu watch Fang Daxang cough out blood, they wonder what happened and if they hurt him that much. Fang Daxang turns towards Chunyi and asks him why he is not doing anything about this. So Fang Chunyi says that he would help and walks towards him menacingly. All of a sudden, laser beams shoot through Fang Daxang's chest, and he soon falls to the ground. He realizes what Fang Chunyi has done and asks him if he is siding with Tian as well. Fang Chunyi says to him that him siding with Tian would be such a joke. He also says that they would be killed right after he kills him. After saying this, Fang Chunyi uses the beams to bring him down, but before the beams can pierce him once again, Fang Daxang punches it and blocks it from touching him. He then closes in on Fang Chunyi and is about to attack him, but the hidden assassins soon show themselves and stand beside Fang Chunyi. Then, Fang Chunyi tells Daxang that he is the only one that can still manage to stand after being hit by that skill. Fang Daxang then notices that the guys behind Fang Chunyi are from the Cayenne family. They use a skill called Magnitude Rise, which causes Fang Daxang to fall to his knees. He then asks them why they are betraying him. Tian and Sidu are now faced with defending themselves against Fang Chunyi and his assassins. One of the assassins tells Fang Chunyi that they would take care of Sidu, and Tian and asks him to just focus on getting rid of Fang Daxang. Tian slashes his sword at the assassins while Sidu fights them off without any weapons. Fang Chunyi stands in front of an injured Fang Daxang. He uses the beams to attack him again, but this time, it is stopped by Zhisheng, who uses his Shadow Taunt skill in order to stall Fang Chunyi's attack and prevent Fang Daxang from being hurt. Everyone in the cave wonders what is going on as they are not able to control their movements. The beams that Fang Chunyi sent his way also change directions and head towards two of the assassins instead and kill them both after causing an explosion. Both Tian and Sidu praise Zhisheng for helping them out and doing a great job. Zhisheng then says that he might have just been shadow taunting, but he's going to need a few days of rest again after this. Fang Chunyi is taken aback by what he just saw, and he wonders who this guy is, where he came from, and how he was able to acquire such a skill. Using their powerful flame and sword wind combo once again, Sidu and Tian send a flame tornado towards Fang Chunyi. However, the beams that Fang Chunyi shoots are able to block their attack and are then shot back towards them, but they both manage to dodge it in time. But this causes the rocks on the ceiling of the cave to shake and loosen, right above where Fang Quanshui is seated. As the rock is about to fall, Fang Quanshui closes her eyes and braces for the impact, but Fang Daxang prevents the rock from falling on her. Sidu then unties Fang Quanshui just as Fang Daxang falls back down. Fang Quanshui angrily asks Fang Chunyi why he is doing this. Fang Chunyi says that all that will be known is the demise of the Fang family's master and his daughter in the hands of the criminals. Fang Chunyi says that his plan is to tell everyone that the Fang family master and his daughter were killed by the criminals, and Chunyi could not arrive in time to help them and inherited everything in the Fang family. Chunny sets off his laser beams again, but this time, he aims it directly at Fang Quanshui. She stands right in the path of the beams, but Zhisheng quickly uses Shadow Taunt again to stall the attack. The beam changes direction and is now headed towards Zhisheng, but Tian pushes him out of the way in the nick of time. Since Sidhu realized that he has just been a pawn in Fang Chunni's conspiracy, he decides to get back at him by throwing flames at him. Fang Chunni dodges the attack easily and mocks Sidhu for trying to hit him with such a slow move. He then says to them that even if they dodge all of his hits, it won't take long for the cave to collapse. He says that he would blast the entire cave and bury all of them with it. Sidhu gets mad and asks him why they should be buried alongside someone like him. Fang Chunni says that he would be able to escape as the Cayenne family will soon come to his assistance, and any injuries he gets would just be honorable scars from battling the criminals. Tian says to Zhisheng that he doesn't want to end up under a pile of rocks, so he asks him if he has any plan. Zhisheng says that in their current situation, the cave would definitely collapse if they attempt anything too powerful. And even if they both were lucky enough to escape, those who would have trouble moving like Fang Daxang would die here, and they both would end up becoming Fang Chunni's perfect target of accusation for his crime. Sidhu says that it seems like the only option is to get rid of Fang Chunni. Zhisheng says that for once, Tian and Sidhu are able to agree on one thing, so he now has a plan. Fang Chunni notices them talking amongst themselves and he asks them what they are babbling about. All of a sudden, Tian leaps towards him and Chunni calls him trash for trying to come at him. He tries to stop Tian, but Zhisheng uses Shadow Taunt skill and deflects the direction of Fang Chunni's attack. And Tian uses this opportunity to nail a perfect right uppercut on Fang Chunni. However, he dodges it easily and says that even though he is not an expert at close combat, there is no way a weak punch like that would hit him. This enrages Tian and he jumps at Fang Chunni and grabs a hold of him. While Fang Chunni is wondering what Tian is trying to do, Sidhu uses Sacred Eruption. Fang Chunni knees Tian in his stomach, but Tian doesn't let go. Tian tightens his grip on him and asks him how he is going to escape now. Fang Chunni tells him that he is crazy and trying to bring them down together. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupts and blows up. For a moment, it seems like Fang Chunni is surrounded by the flames, but he soon straightens up and mocks Tian for being an F tier and trying to bring him down. Tian comes up behind him to grab him after using the substitute puppet skill which he had received as a reward earlier. This skill would enable him to withstand 9 fatal injuries. The remaining count that he can use for the skill is 7. Tian tells Chunni that fire-based attack will never shatter the cave and asks him how many more strikes he would be able to endure. He also says that he does not mind using up the substitute puppet count so they could go at it again. Fang Chunni faces Tian and is about to punch him, but Sidhu comes to the rescue by sending a giant swirl of fire towards Chunni. After making it out of it with much difficulty, he says that not even he could withstand these continuous strikes. He then says that no one would leave here alive and prepares to kill them all, but Tian sneaks up behind him to punch him so hard that he falls at the other side of the cave. Then, there is a loud explosion that takes place. Meanwhile, the assassins who are waiting outside hear the sounds and explosions coming from the cave. One of them says that it is time for them to start acting according to Fang Chunni's plan. The other guy says to him that he would cancel the barrier and open the portal so that the Fang family can witness heroic scenes of Fang Chunni putting himself in danger to rescue the Fang family's head and his daughter. So, soon enough, the seal has been removed and the Fang family members rush to rescue Fang Daxian, Fang Chunni, and Fang Quanshui. One of the assassins points them in the direction of the smoke. Underneath the rubble and rock lies Fang Chunni. He gets up thinking that he could now tell everyone that he got to the scene late and inherit everything from the Fang family. Soon, Tian comes out of the debris too, after using up substitute puppet again, which would not only help him recover but also increase his speed for 5 minutes. And Sidhu soon follows as well. He wonders how Tian is able to stand up after blocking the hit for him. Fang Chunni is angry that Tian is still alive and holds out his hand to launch another attack, but Tian is already on the move, ready to fight him. Fang Chunni tries to get Tian again, but he dodges every one of the light beams. Fang Chunni is taken aback by Tian's sudden speed. He wonders what skill he used to increase his speed. Then, Fang Daxang, Zhisheng and Fang Quanshui also get up from the debris of the cave. Fang Chunni notices this and tries to kill both Zhisheng and Quanshui by aiming his light beam at them. Tian races towards them in order to block the attack and saves them both. In the aftermath of blocking the attack, Tian is seriously injured and Chunni says that he only did it because he knew that Tian would rush to block it. Fang Chunni raises his hand to the sky in an attempt to kill Tian with the light beams once and for all. A huge explosion is heard and Tian is still standing despite having both his arms cut off, and a gaping hole through his torso. Fang Quanshui and Zhisheng watch him worriedly while Fang Chunyi is glad he has finally brought Tian down. However, Tian uses up substitution puppet again and his body regenerates to its former healthy state. Chunyi is stunned to see that Tian was able to recover so quickly, and since Tian was willing to sacrifice his life for Fang Quanshui, she is overcome with the will to help him and protect him too. So when Chunyi gets ready to attack again, she runs and stands in front of Tian and creates a ball of energy to protect them from Chunyi. Fang Daxang says that Fang Quanshui's MP blessed her with her remaining energy right before she died, so it could protect her from any external force. Daxang then tells Tian to focus on defeating Fang Chunyi now as Fang Quanshui is protected. He also tells Tian that even though Fang Chunyi's light beams may be extremely lethal, his physique is only in a tier, and he would not dare to use his powers in close-range fights unless he wants to hurt himself as well. After hearing this, Tian closes in on Fang Chunyi to deliver the best punch possible, but Chunyi immediately grabs his fist and says that he is not just a B+ tier hunter but he is actually an S tier. But before he can finish his sentence, Tian punches him square in the face. Fang Chunyi struggles to get up and says that Tian's punches have incredible power, and that he is way beyond S tier. Tian is about to punch him again, but he is interrupted by the Fang family security crew who say that Fang Chunyi must be protected. Fang Quanshui immediately stops them and says that they are all mistaken. She explains to them that Fang Chunyi ganged up against her and Fang Daxang with the assassins, and it was Tian who saved them. At the same moment, the assassin shows up and holds Fang Chunyi, who is limping and unable to walk. They head to leave through a portal nearby. Fang Daxang tries to stop them, but they have already exited the dungeon. Tian pulls out the item that he received for defeating the tortoise earlier, and decides to drink it in order to recover, mainly because he does not want the side effects of the substitution puppet to come back to bite him. Lan Ziyu reaches the cave of the dungeon and apologizes for being late. She then asks Fang Quanshui if she is doing alright. Fang Quanshui tells her that she is fine. She then asks Tian how he is feeling, to which he replies that he is as good as ever. Lan Ziyu is angry upon seeing this and thinks to herself what kind of psychedelic soup Tian has fed Fang Quanshui. One of the security forces soon tells Lan Ziyu to activate the portal as everyone is ready to leave the dungeon. So she says okay, and once the portal is opened, everyone exits through it. Fang Daxang is in the hospital, recovering from his injuries. Fang Quanshui asks the mage and the doctor how Fang Daxang is doing. The mage says that in order for Fang Daxang to make it out, he would have to make a rule-breaking decision. The doctor says that Fang Daxang is seriously injured and also tells her to not trust the mage as he is a scammer. The mage angrily tells him that he is a clueless brat for daring to slander and mock his ancestral hyper-spiritual remedy. Fang Quanshui tells them both to stop arguing. Lan Ziyu keeps a close eye on Zhisheng, Tian and Sidu. Zhisheng tells her that they are all unrelated to this incident, and asks her to let them go. Lan Ziyu apologizes to them and says that even though she trusts their innocence, everything would be up to Fang Daxang and his decision once he regains consciousness. To this, Sidu says that it is absolutely nuts. Tian then notices that YY is there as well and asks what she is doing here. So she tells him that they accused him of abducting Fang Quanshui and other things of that sort and dragged her here to question her. Tian gets angry, thinking that it is all because of Fang Chunyi and his plan. YY then offers to help Fang Daxang recover, and Tian thinks that she will not be able to hide her secret identity as a hunter any longer. She raises her hands and places them above him, and within moments, Fang Daxang opens his eyes. Sidu tells her that it is an impressive healing skill. Fang Daxang then orders Lan Ziyu to gather every member of the Fang family for a conference the next day as he has an important announcement to make. She then asks him what she should do about Tian and the others. So Fang Daxang says to Tian that he really appreciates all his help and that the Fang family is indebted to him, Sidu and Zhisheng, for their help. He then tells them that he just wants to speak to Tian and Fang Quanshui and asks the others to leave. Later that day, all the members of the Fan family are gathered for a meeting that is being addressed by Fang Daxang. He tells them that a lot has happened to the Fang family in recent times and that he believes that everyone has heard the news about Fang Chunyi as well. The Fang family members in the crowd are appalled that what they heard is actually true, and that Fang Chunyi is really a traitor. A person in the crowd even says that Fang Chunyi has been his eyesore for a long time. Also in the crowd and listening to all of this is a girl, Sister Hu. Earlier, she had asked Fang Chunyi if he really likes Fang Quanshui. He had told her that all Fang Daxang thinks of is to pass on the position of family head onto Fang Quanshui, and pleasing her is only part of his plot to snatch her position. He also tells her that the one he loves truly is none other than her. After hearing whatever was said, she angrily thinks that this must have been Tian and Fang Quanshui's work. Fang Daxing then says that it would be troublesome for him to manage every affair now that he has been injured by Fang Chunyi. So he says that he would like to take this opportunity to announce that Fang Quanshui would be the new head of the family. The rest of the Fang family members are all for it, as they say that Fang Quanshui is the best candidate and that they would support her. Fang Daxing also says that Yin Yongtian has been appointed as the chief assistant in accordance with Fang Quanshui's wish. Hearing this, the Fang family members are confused. Some say that he is just an F tier, while others ask if he has what it takes to be Fang Quanshui's assistant. Sister Hu, who is an A tier hunter, speaks up and says that she is against Tian being Fang Quanshui's assistant. Zhisheng tells her that they make a great couple and that she should not oppose it. So she asks him how a mere F-tier hunter like Tian can rank above them and become the chief assistant too. Listening to her, the rest of the members start to protest too. They say that Fang Quanshui has just appointed Tian out of favoritism, and then ask her if they forgot that they walked through fire and did so much for the Fang family. A few others say that Tian is just a useless nobody, and that he would achieve nothing if at all Fang Quanshui had not favored him. Sister Hu yells at Fang Quanshui and says that the Fang family has made it a custom to treat individuals by their strength. Fang Quanshui tells that she is right, and that is the reason why a lot of the brilliant hunters here are willing to serve the Fang family. The members in the crowd say that is right. Suddenly, Xiao Liang jumps and kicks high and closes in on Tian. Sister Hu thinks that even though Xiao Liang might just be a B-tier hunter, his boasted spinning kick, buffed by the special item called Blue Chelsea, is just as strong as an S-tier strike. Tian sees him getting closer to him, and so he decides to give him a taste of his own punches and kicks. After beating him up hard, Tian asks him why a skinny guy like him is wearing such big shoes. He tells him that it is very absurd to look at. When Xiao Liang falls, he falls so hard that it leaves cracks on the ground. Meanwhile, the crowd is beyond confused. They have no idea what just happened, as they could not even see anything. They are all amazed by Tian's strength. Fang Quanshui notices that Tian just used the same skill set that he used in the dungeon while he was battling Fang Chunyi. Fang Quanshui then asks the crowd if anyone else wants to oppose her decision and challenge Tian. This time the crowd says that they think Tian is the most reliable candidate. Sister Hu gets angry that Tian injured her disciple and says to Tian that she would not let him go easily. Tian asks her if he is really her disciple, feeling puzzled. She then puts her on robotic gloves and says that Tian's spotlight would now come to an end. She also says that she will show him how strong she is. But before she can do anything, she is stopped by a guy who says that they would be at a disadvantage if they battle Tian recklessly whilst his true strength is still a mystery. So he says that it is better to call for Brother Dao's help. Sister Hu grudgingly agrees to it. And before they leave, Tian tells her to ask her disciple to change his shoes. The other guy says to him that they were careless and apologizes for it before they leave. But unknown to Tian and the others, they leave behind a tracker to monitor them and listen in on their discussions. With that, the conference ends in chaos. Fang Quanshui and Yin Yongtian's appointments are basically done and dusted. Tian sits in annoyance as he can't help thinking about that guy's extra large sneakers. Fang Quanshui and Zhisheng enter the room. Tian asks them what they are here for, and Fang Quanshui says that he really worked hard today. Tian says that it was nothing and that he would always do his best like he promised them. Tian then asks Zhisheng if there is anything he would like to tell him since he followed him here. But Zhisheng says nothing, so Fang Quanshui tells Tian that she has been thinking of discussing something with him. And Zhisheng says that great minds think alike. Tian says that he has something to ask too and asks if anyone could explain what an unclaimed dungeon is. Fang Quanshui is glad to teach him and says that they would start from the beginning. Fang Quanshui begins to explain to Tian about how dungeons in the world are home to limited resources. In Country X, the majority of dungeons are controlled by the government. Tian asks her if the civilization led by the Fang family is doing something similar. Fang Quanshui says that is right, but such an identity has been proved to be a double-edged sword. She talks about how dungeon resources are accessible by civil organizations like them, but they are entirely down to the allocation by Country X's government, which is based on a fixed quota. And over time, the existing dungeons get completely exploited and new ones start to spawn. So with the quota fixed, the gain in dungeon resources had been going downhill for many civil organizations. So she says that is why they need to explore newly generated unclaimed dungeons. Zhisheng also says that unclaimed dungeons are free from influences and boast a wide array of unknown resources. Tian says that he is really not interested in all of that. This leaves Zhisheng and Fang Quanshui very confused. Zhisheng throws the maps in his hand and says that he gathered all the maps of unclaimed dungeons just for this occasion. Tian kicks him away and tells him not to get any snot on him. He then takes a look at one of Zhisheng's maps and asks him what this mess is, so he explains to him that their predecessors planned ahead as they explored. Tian takes another look at it and Zhisheng asks him if he would not like to excavate his own superior path. Hearing this, Tian gets very excited and says they would start from the most disorganized one. He says that he would first go straight west and clear every single dungeon in the west part. Zhisheng cheers excitedly too. The tiny bug that was left behind by Sister Hu and the guys gets closer to Fang Quanshui while she does not notice. Sister Hu is informed that the infiltration is complete and that Tian is going to explore the western unclaimed dungeons. She says that is great and that Brother Dao is very familiar with the western region. So they go to Brother Dao and let him know that they would be relying on him to reach Tian a lesson. To this, Dao replies that they do not have to worry about it. Brother Dao is an S-tier hunter, sword dancer. He picks up an item and says that Tian will not have it easy. Fang Quanshui is in her office, going through a laptop. Fang Daxang walks in and asks her how things are going as the new head of the Fang family. She doesn't reply, so Fang Daxang asks her what it is. So she shows him a list of Fang Chunyi's contacts before his betrayal. Almost all of them are related to the Cayenne family. She also says that many hunters who currently serve the Fang family are actually moles installed by him. Suddenly, Fang Daxang hits Fang Quanshui's neck and takes something out and she asks him what is wrong. A hand is seen with a bug on it. Someone left a bug that couldn't have been detected if it weren't for an S-tier hunter with exceptional vision. Yin Yongtian's trip to the unclaimed dungeons is exposed. A man tells him to follow him if he is going to take on the unclaimed dungeons. He then says that Brother Dao will be the mole since he has never shown himself in front of Yin Yongtian, and asks him to team up with Yin Yongtian and gain his trust. 3 others will play backup there. The man then asks Brother Dao to wait till Yin Yongtian gets tired from raiding the dungeons, and then tells him to strike him from the back with his S-tier power. He then told the 3 others to join in and destroy Yin Yongtian with Zhisheng and ask them to grab every single dungeon loot that they grinded. He thinks that this time he will make Yin Yongtian pay twice as much. He thinks that he has the advantage as they have 4 men, whereas Yongtian only has 2. After that, Zhisheng and Yin Yongtian are seen walking towards the site, and they enter the first site for the western dungeon. Zhisheng says that he has never come to the western dungeons before and thinks that it's better to team up with the local hunters, who would be more reliable. He says that it's way easier to just find someone on the spot, and these unclaimed dungeons are hotspots among scattered cultivators. Suddenly, Yongtian notices a man standing on top of the dungeon, and he quickly jumps and asks if both Zhisheng and Yongtian would like to team up with him in order to explore the dungeon. Zhisheng asks him if he is a local cultivator, but Yongtian rejects him. But the local cultivator says that he is familiar with these dungeons, having worked in them for eternity. Whereas Yongtian says that this guy is all covered with mud and even splashed some on him, so he is just irritated from looking at him. On the other hand, the master's men keep a check on all that's happening. Zhisheng suggests teaming up with him, as they really need a teammate who is familiar with this place. The cultivator thinks that he will cop them up once we obtain all the dungeon loot. Yongtian asks him his name, to which he says that he is the warrior of the sunset, and everyone calls him Brother Dao. As they are about to enter the dungeon, they encounter 3 soldiers, and Brother Dao fights with them using an A-tier strike. Brother Dao tells them that he has raided this dungeon before, and these sand soldiers will ceaselessly regenerate if their core isn't destroyed. He then shows Yongtian the core of the yellow sand dungeon's mechanisms, the nightmare generator. He says that Keek, a wilted tree under the nightmare generator, is a hidden boss once you go for the core. Yongtian then goes to attack the soldiers, and Brother Dao feels that he should have gone for the night air instead. But Zhisheng says that he has never given up on a repeatable reward that easily. On the other hand, the master's men wonder why the 3 of them haven't come out yet. The girl then asks her teammate to get her an iced tea. Yongtian attacks the sand soldiers with full power and fights with them. Suddenly the reward falls off, and Brother Dao wonders if Yongtian is tired and asks when he will stop. To which Zhisheng replies that he won't stop unless the reward stops spawning. Brother Dao thinks that he will have no chance to lay a hand on him at this rate. He then decides to get the side quest done quickly and seek an opportunity after they get out. Brother Dao then attacks the wilted tree, but the tree attacks him with full power in return, and then they all get to know that there is a hidden boss. Brother Du thinks that he wanted to let Yunqin deal with the hidden boss. Suddenly, the wilted tree attacks with full power, and other branches start growing on the sand. Yongtian thinks that all elements are crucial to clearing a dungeon flawlessly. He then attacks the tree branches with his sword in full power, and he suddenly opens a lighter and attacks the tree with it. The tree blasts with power, and a virtual screen appears that shows the substitute puppet's remaining count as 3. But suddenly, the tree becomes even stronger. Whereas, on the other hand, Brother Dao sprains his leg in the explosion. Brother Dao thanks Yongtian for saving his life, but he thinks that he got saved by the enemy. But then he thinks that he will help him against that strange tree to repay his kindness, as it is not a betrayal on young Master Fang. Just as the tree becomes stronger, Zhisheng observes that the boss is capable of both long-range and melee combat, and its defense is weak when it generates fireballs. They think the victory will be theirs if the timing is right. Zhisheng thinks that Brother Dao is a veteran in the western region. Brother Dao tells Yongtian that he won't be able to dodge the fireballs at close range if he fails to hit them the first time. The tree then attacks the three of them by generating a fireball. Brother Dao decides to deal with the branches and trick them into spitting fireballs, and Zhisheng decides to help him as well. The rest now depends on Yongtian. Zhisheng uses shadow taunting to attack the branches. The tree suddenly becomes very powerful, and a very bright light starts coming out of it. Just as the light hits the ground, a blue cage stone comes out, and its bright light hits the three guys. Suddenly, they all notice that the tree has collapsed, and a bright moon-like figure appears. After that, a virtual screen appears that says that it is a realm of weightlessness, and it crushes the galaxy sphere, and creates a weightless realm of 100 meters in diameter. Everything in this realm will move in slow motion and become weightless. As they finally made it through, they decided to go further. Brother Dao thinks that it's time to deal with Yin Yongtian and wonders if Sister Hu and the others are still waiting. Yongtian then asks them to move to the next dungeon and says that he is going to clear every single dungeon in the western region. They then suddenly notice a huge dragon with wings on top of the next dungeon. A soldier is seen standing at the entry point, but they kill him and take his weapon along with them. Both Brother Dao and Zhisheng are shocked to see Yongtian going forward in his killing spree, as they didn't expect him to come this far. According to the map, their next destination should be the western border of this area's unclaimed dungeons, says Zhisheng. Yongtian feels that their journey to the west is coming to a perfect end. After that, they all arrive at the unclaimed dungeons, where they see a beautiful woman standing in front of a bunch of men. Suddenly, the dragon monster comes and attacks the people. He captures the beautiful girl and flies off. It turns out that she is Princess Jenny. Yongtian wonders what it was, and Zhisheng says that it seems like a cutscene from a video game but wonders why it would exist in the dungeons. A man then calls them warriors from the Outland and asks if they are willing to defeat the dragon and save the princess. The dragon puffs in anger, and Yongtian immediately runs to defeat him. The dragon is seen as a very powerful creature, but Yongtian goes to attack him. Yongtian comes onto the dragon's legs and tries attacking him with his sword. It turns out that this is all just my imagination. The man from the kingdom says that he has witnessed Yongtian heroically defeating the evil dragon, and he has faith in his capability to save the princess. Zhisheng feels that these are classic NPC dialogues, and it seems like this dungeon even has a plot. Yongtian then asks Brother Dao about the reason behind his astonishment. Suddenly, Brother Dao starts crying and starts calling the man his son. He says that this is his long-lost son, and back then, he insisted on taking the western dungeons on his taking him to, and he heard from him since then. He says that he traveled around the western region for all these years in search of him. This shocks the man, and he says that he doesn't even know Brother Dao, but he insists on saying that he is his father. Yongtian then asks Brother Dao to stop with all the acting and get rid of his disgusting snort. The man then gives him something to wipe it off, and Brother Dao asks if it is a biscuit. But the man says that it isn't a biscuit, it's a compressed flying rug. He put the akit in the water, and suddenly a flea rug came out of it. Yongtian gets surprised upon seeing this. Yongtian takes a look at the flying rug and wonders why such quirky items exist in a dungeon. Brother Dao again starts calling the man his son, but Zhisheng says that it must be a mistake, as how could an NPC in a dungeon be his son? Yongtian thinks that he indeed looks like an NPC as he still carries on with his speech, even though there's someone carrying right in front of him. Suddenly, Yongtian comes behind the man and says that he looks just like an NPC, no matter what we do, as he still carries on with his speech. Zhisheng says that there is something off, as items are usually rewarded after monsters are killed, but he's just holding it there. Yongtian asks if this has happened in the dungeon before, to which Zhisheng replies that it has never happened and he hasn't heard of dungeons with plots. Yongtian then says may truth sit only surface after they beat the boss. The three of them sits on the flying rug and go. A drone is seen flying in the air. On the other hand, Master Feng's men are seen sleeping in bean bags in the desert. Suddenly, a virtual message from the masters comes, and he complains about his men not coming back to him since he sent them to get rid of Yin Yongtian. He then gets angry, knowing that it hasn't been done yet. The girl tells him that Brother Dao went inside the dungeon with them, and there's been no news since then. The master then wonders if they all perished in the dungeon. He then gets a message and tells them to contact him later. The girl asks the other two companions, and they start discussing who was on duty at night. And suddenly, the master appears again and calls them idiots. He informs them that they are all already in the westernmost ancient castle dungeon. He then orders his men to get there immediately and kill Yin Yongtian. Suddenly, a jeep is seen through the desert, and a girl says that she herself is enough. She tells another girl that there was no need for her to come as it was dangerous here. The Jiri turns out to be Yongtian's childhood friend, and she says that he wants to see him. The previous head of the Fang family is seen reading a virtual message, which says that a full team of S-tier hunters explored the western dungeons for the first time, and in the westernmost ancient castle dungeon, they were all killed. He gets shocked upon reading the message, thinks that something is off, and decides to go and see everything. Suddenly a big monster-like shadow comes behind him and asks him not to meddle in the matter. It says that it's bad for a patient to get emotional. The head of the family asks him what he wants, as he has always minded his own business. The shadow threatens the man with a knife on his neck and says that the western dungeons are not his to explore, and he should recall his people. Just as the mystery man is about to leave after threatening the previous Aha of the Fang family, the Ahead starts shouting that everyone has a right to explore the western dungeons, as this rule applies to everyone. He further says that the mystery man is being way too high and mighty. The mystery man turns his face to the side and asks him if he won't do as he says. He then threatens him once more by saying that perhaps the death of the former family head will bring them back. The former head comes into full physical strength and tries to attack the mystery man. With just a flick, the mystery man ties the former head up as he shouts in anger. On the other hand, the three of them on the flying rug reach the western dungeon. While landing on the ground, Yongtian says that if that dwarf really is your son, then the NPCs will respawn. Brother Dao gets anxious upon realizing that he was supposed to go undercover. Zhisheng looks at the map and wonders if it is the evil dragon's cave. He thinks that it seems like a boss of the fire element. They then enter the cave and notice that the princess is tied up with ropes on the top of the rock, and below her is hot, swelling lava. Brother Dao thinks that the mission will be complete once we save the girl, but Yongtian says that it is obviously a trap as the hostage is tied there in such dangerous terrain. They have no idea if she's alive, and there's no sight of enemies. Just as Brother Dao is about to walk, he immediately saves himself from falling into the lava. Then Zhisheng asks the princess if she is alright, whereas Yongtian throws a stone at her head to check, to which Zhisheng protests and asks him why he is abusing the hostage. Suddenly, the boss appears Yongtian and throws heavy fire from his mouth towards Yongtian and the other two men. Due to the fire, the rocks start collapsing, and it turns out that the rock below Zhisheng's feet cracks. Zhisheng falls from the cliff and asks for Yongtian's help. Yin Yongtian puts forward his hand for help, and Zhisheng somehow captures it. But Yongtian now also hangs on the cliff with one hand holding the rock and the other hand holding Zhisheng. The dragon sees this and comes to attack them again. After seeing this, Brother Dao thinks this can't be helped, as Yongtian saved his life after all. He attacks the dragon with his sword and pulls both of them up. The boss again comes to attack them, but Zhisheng attacks the dragon with the shadow taunt technique. Striking the arc on the dragon's head is his weakness. Just then, Yongtian goes up and hits the mark on his head with his sword. The dragon cries in pain, and Yongtian comes to know that it's his weak point and asks the other two to attack the dragon on his head. All three of them collectively attack the dragon with their swords on his head, which eventually kills the dragon, and all his parts slowly start to diminish. They all get shocked at killing the dragon so easily. Suddenly, Yongtian finds a box with the letter X written on it. The box suddenly ignites, falls out of Yongtian's hand, and explodes. After this, the princess suddenly starts shouting for help, but Yongtian feels something is off, and just when they all try to untie the princess turns into a monster. The monster, in the form of the princess, tries to attack them. The monster scares them but again fits its face into the body of the princess. Yongtian says that it's the hidden boss in the form of the princess. He says that he confirmed that the underground dungeons only consist of two elements, which are NPC monsters and rewards. That's how a normal dungeon is structured. He says that the sudden appearance of a princess with a plot, as well as the boss dragon that doesn't give any reward upon death, doesn't make any sense at all. Brother Dao thinks that they are lucky to have Yongtian's OCD thinking. The boss says to Yongtian that he is the first one to detect his identity, and it is meticulous that he is able to reach this stage. It turns out the boss is an S-tier hidden boss, Chain Jenny. The boss then attacks Yongtian with a chain and throws a purple liquid from her mouth at Zhisheng. The poisonous liquid makes Zhisheng weak, and Brother Dao thinks that he owes one to Zhisheng. Yongtian observes that Jenny has one chain longer than the other. Zhisheng says that the long chain on her left hand is for ranged attacks, the short chain on her right hand is for close combat, and this is a powerful boss capable of both ranged and close combat. Brother Dao says that he can handle the ranged attacks, but Yongtian wonders what they should do about her toxic liquid. Yongtian asks Dao to release his attack to pin her left hand. Chain Jenny attacks Dao, but he counterattacks her with his sword and pins her hands. The boss starts rotating fast with her chains and again tries to attack Yongtian. Yongtian thinks that he luckily has a substitute with him to take the damage, which surprises the boss. Yongtian throws the miniature flying carpet received from the man towards the mouth of the boss, which closes her mouth. He then attacks her with his sword. Suddenly, Yongtian notices the X box he saw earlier, and then he suddenly notices a big door with X written on it opening. All three of them walk inside and notice people being held as hostages inside little containers. Yongtian wonders what kind of dungeon this is. Zhisheng looks at the map and says that this should be the West Dungeon's boundary, but he wonders where it leads. Brother Dao suddenly remembers that, many years ago, this used to be a free roaming area of the West Dungeon. When a country was in power, the Western Dungeon developed to this point. Further exploration was halted until the military of Country X took over this place. He further tells us that after transforming the local residents into NPCs, an experimental dungeon was created. Yongtian then asks Brother Dao about the person who has this kind of ability, to which he replies that the boss of X country is a hunter with an S-tier ability, and his name is Jibo Nai. On the other hand, Yongtian's childhood friend with the other girl is seen sitting in the car. She is seen complaining about the bad signal in the desert. She then notices Master Fang's men and wonders what those guys are doing at the side of the road with the screen. Suddenly, Fang meets Master Jibo Nai, who tells him that Yongtian and his companions have already found his experimental base, and that his plan Fang failed. Master Bai asks for one Nai chance from Jibo, but he bestows him with his new strength. Jibo Nai suddenly comes out of the screen and orders the three men to go and kill everyone who discovered that experimental base. This scares the men. On the other hand, Zhisheng says that they shouldn't have entered such a secret military site, and they should leave. But Yongtian insists on exploring more. Suddenly, a red alert button starts beeping, and a green liquid starts flowing below the containers. All the transformed people come out of the containers and start walking towards Yongtian and his companions. They think that if they can't escape, they should better prepare to fight. Suddenly, they all notice a teleporter coming out of the roof from above, and Zhisheng says that this is X country's core technology. Brother Dao wonders if this is their dungeon completion reward. The teleporter opens, and another monster comes out of it. Brother Dao thinks about how Fang Chunyi has come here. He then thinks that maybe it's time to have a showdown with them, but then realizes that those two saved him and decides not to fight with them. Zhisheng then stops Yongtian from fighting Chunyi and says that he isn't the same as others and has been transformed. All transformed people release sparkling light from their eyes, and Brother Dao thinks that he has to find a way to save his son. He attacks his own son, which makes him faint, and then tries to take him away. Just after Fang Chunyi's eyes went red, the other guys went berserk. Yongtian then decides to take down Fang Chunyi but observes that his responses are slow. Fang Chunyi releases more power, which surprises Yongtian, and they both attack each other. He then realizes that Fang has become a monster. On the other hand, Jibo Nai is seen watching all of this and thinking that the current master of the Fang family is still very useful. After this, Fang Chunyi attacks Yongtian with his power. Both Yongtian and Zhisheng try to dodge Chunyi's attacks, but he again attacks, which pushes Yongtian into the wall. He then tries to think in between Chunyi's multiple attacks. Dao's son and the transformed princess somehow get hit by Chunyi's attacks. Zhisheng thinks that these bouncing attacks are going to kill them all, but then he notices Yongtian running towards Chunyi. Yongtian thinks that this guy can't move fast right now, so he will try going straight to him. He then attacks Chunyi with full power, and while crying his lungs out, he bursts into flames. Both Yongtian and Zhisheng think that he is dead, but he still appears out of the smog. Zhisheng tells Yongtian that this cannon is dangerous as he keeps firing it, and Yongtian says that they have to take a gamble. Just when Chunyi fires again from the cannon, Yongtian cuts his arm with his sword. Yongtian thinks that since his skin is immune to the cannon, Fang Chunyi gets angry after getting his arm cut and suddenly fires with full power from the cannon. Yongtian uses Fang's hand to dodge the fire from the cannon. Fang Chunyi burns in his own fire, dodges Yongtian, and dies. Here's the video ends. Guys, if you like this recap, then like the video. We will meet in another video. Till then, bye.